Xiaofan's Wuxia Tales. Chapter 573. Since entering the 9 nether yellow springs, everyone had been fighting and fleeing. The blood, dirt, and dust on their bodies had never been washed. Therefore, when she saw the pool, Shenmei wanted to wash it. Of course, this was understandable. After all, as a woman, a beautiful woman, it was her nature to love beauty and cleanliness. Shenmei said again, "If it really doesn't work, it doesn't matter, I can hold on. It's okay, I also think that everyone should wash up." Qin Feiyang smiled, jumped down from the stone, and carefully walked towards the pool. Before this, he really didn't care about this, but after Shenmei said it, and looking at everyone's unkempt appearance, it was indeed time to wash up. However, under the water, any danger could exist, so he had to explore it clearly first. The pool was not far away. Qin Feiyang quickly walked to the pool. The pool was very clear, 56 meters wide, surrounded by aquatic plants, but he couldn't see the bottom of the pool. Qin Feiyang observed for a while. The water was always calm, giving people a sense of tranquility. But he didn't rashly go down. He found a washbasin-sized stone and threw it into the pool. Immediately, water splashed everywhere. The stone quickly sank to the bottom of the pool. But after a long time, it still didn't sink to the bottom. It was enough to see that this pool was very deep. "Do you want to go down and take a look?" Qin Feiyang was a little hesitant. Finally, he gritted his teeth, jumped directly into the pool, and quickly sank to the bottom of the pool. The water was unexpectedly calm, and there wasn't even half a creature. But the more it was like this, the more cautious Qin Feiyang was, and even took out Chang Shui in case of an accident. After about 200 breaths, he finally saw the bottom of the pool. The moment he saw the bottom of the pool, he immediately stopped, his eyes full of horror. At the bottom of the pool, there were actually a lot of bones piled up. The stone that was thrown into the pool before was now on top of the bones. Qin Feiyang glanced at them one by one, and couldn't help but feel his scalp tingle. These bones, there were human skulls and beast skulls. It was like coming to hell, making people stop at sight. This was enough to prove that the pool was not safe. But where exactly was the danger? Because at the bottom of the lake, Qin Feiyang only saw bones and no other creatures. Qin Feiyang really wanted to go down and look for it, but there was a voice in his heart that told him not to take the risk. After pondering for a moment, he decisively swam towards the surface of the water. But suddenly, he stopped again and looked to the left of the bottom of the lake. A trace of bewilderment crept into his eyes. Over there, a strand of multicolored light seemed to appear, but it disappeared in the blink of an eye. Was it an illusion? Qin Feiyang frowned. However, in the next moment, the multicolored light appeared again and then disappeared. It's not an illusion. Qin Feiyang felt refreshed and immediately swam to the left. However, he did not enter the bottom of the pool and kept a distance from it. This kind of flashing multicolored light was most likely emitted by some kind of treasure. As they got closer, the multicolored light became more and more obvious. Vaguely, Qin Feiyang saw a vague glowing object at the bottom of the pool. There's really a treasure. Qin Feiyang was overjoyed, but he did not lose his mind because of this. He slowly approached, holding the Chang Shui tightly in his hand. After a few breaths, he finally saw the glowing object clearly. It was actually a flower. This flower, rooted in a piece of mud, was about the size of a palm, and was shaped like a snow lotus. However, it only had 3 leaves, and each leaf seemed to be carved out of crystal without any flaws. Moreover, its whole body flickered with a hazy multicolored light. Although it was rooted in mud, it was not stained with the slightest bit of dirt. It was exceptionally beautiful. Qin Feiyang was entranced by it. What kind of flower was this? How could it grow in such a place? It also looked somewhat familiar. However, he was certain that this flower was definitely not an ordinary object. After carefully observing the situation around and seeing that there were no other creatures, Qin Feiyang slowly approached the flower. However, just as he was about to grab it, he seemed to have discovered something terrifying. He quickly retracted his arm and rushed towards the surface of the water without hesitation. Just as he retracted his arm, the mud near the flower violently surged. Whoosh! Following closely, a group of mysterious creatures rushed out of the mud and rushed towards Qin Feiyang like lightning. These mysterious creatures were as long as chopsticks, as thick as a thumb, and as black as ink. They looked like snakes, but they were not snakes, because they did not have snake scales or eyes. However, they could clearly sense Qin Feiyang's existence and chased after him relentlessly. Damn it! Why are there these damn things? Qin Feiyang looked down at those mysterious creatures, and his face was ashen. These creatures were very fast, but compared to Qin Feiyang, they were still a little slower. A moment later, Qin Feiyang rushed out of the water and quickly climbed ashore. After reaching the shore, he did not continue to escape. He stood on the shore and scanned the lake, red sword chi surging all over his body. What's going on? Fatso and the other two were surprised and rushed towards Qin Feiyang. Qin Feiyang said without turning his head, "Don't come over. Be prepared to escape at any time." Escape? The three of them looked at each other. Was there some ferocious beast at the bottom of the lake? Thinking of this, Ren Wuxia quivered and shouted, "There's a situation. Everyone, be on guard." In an instant, everyone opened their eyes and got into a state of alert. Whoosh! Almost at the same time, the group of mysterious creatures rushed out of the pool and rushed towards Qin Feiyang. What? Black demon locusts. Seeing this, not far away, Fatty and the others all had a change of expression. Black demon locusts and blood leech locusts were the same. They could drill into the bodies of creatures and suck their blood until the end of their lives. But black demon locusts were more terrifying than blood leech locusts. Because their bodies were very tough, it was very difficult for ordinary sharp weapons to break through their defense. And the most important point was that they could not only suck blood, but also absorb battle chi. Fatso shouted, "Boss, don't tangle with them. Run. We can't leave yet." Qin Feiyang whispered. The red sword chi turned into a torrent and rushed towards the black demon locusts. At that moment, those black demon locusts began to absorb his battle chi. But some of the black demon locusts were cut into pieces and fell into the pool. However, these black demon locusts were also known to be immortal. Even if they were chopped into pieces, they would come back to life again. And they would form a brand new independent entity. For example, if there was only one black demon locusts at the moment, if you cut it in half, it would become two. Unless it was burned to ashes, there would only be more and more of them. This was the most terrifying part of the black demon locusts. Qin Feiyang, you can't kill all these damn things. Quickly retreat with us. Dong Zhengyang also shouted anxiously. That's not necessarily true. Qin Feiyang muttered. The crimson sword chi retracted, and the flaming battle chi surged out with an earth-shattering momentum. But groups of black demon locusts came one after another. After one wave was burned, another wave came. And even if it was the flaming battle chi, they dared to absorb it. The most shocking thing was that as they kept absorbing the battle chi, their bodies became bigger and bigger, more and more ferocious. Several black demon locusts had swelled to the size of an arm, which made one's hair stand on end. They can absorb battle chi, but they can't absorb real flames. Why don't we just set them on fire? Someone suggested. Setting them on fire can only deal with ordinary locusts. But these black demon locusts, even ordinary weapons can't cut their flesh, let alone ordinary flames. Dong Zhengyang immediately rejected this suggestion. Shen Mei frowned. So, don't the black demon locusts have invincible bodies? You can say that. Dong Zhengyang nodded. Set them on fire? Qin Feiyang was stunned. This reminded him. Ordinary flames couldn't, flaming battle qi couldn't, then what about alchemy fire? Alchemy fire didn't belong to any battle qi. Could it effectively prevent these black demon locusts from coming back to life? Thinking of this. With a thought, the nether devil flame appeared. The temperature released by a 5th-grade alchemy fire was very shocking. As soon as the nether devil flame was revived, the temperature between heaven and earth soared rapidly, like a big furnace in an instant. The surrounding bushes and weeds dried up at a speed visible to the naked eye, and then burned. A few breaths passed. This place became a sea of fire. What grade is this alchemy fire? Even I can't stand the temperature released. Wu Yan and the others in the resting area were shocked. At the same time, Lu Xingchen looked at the nether devil flame with a strange light in his eyes. If I'm not wrong, this alchemy fire should be 5th grade. What? 5th grade? Everyone was dumbfounded. In the entire spiritual state, only the inner palace had the highest grade of alchemy fire, but it was only 4th grade. Where did this Qin Feiyang get a 5th grade alchemy fire? Could it be Yunzhou? The appearance of the nether devil flame did play a significant role. Those black demon locusts weren't as crazy as before. Some of them surrounded Qin Feiyang, and some didn't dare to approach. Some retreated to the pool and floated on the water surface, watching covetously. Only a small portion of the black demon locusts were still rushing toward Qin Feiyang. The few black demon locusts that had swelled to the size of an arm were among them, and vaguely emitted the aura of a king. Qin Feiyang's gaze was locked on them, and his eyes were filled with murderous intent. Because he couldn't let them continue to grow, or they would inevitably become a threat to him. Clang! Just as those black demon locusts were approaching, he raised his arm and waved the Chang Shui in his hand like lightning, cutting those black demon locusts into pieces on the spot. Then, with a thought, the nether devil flame rushed over. The horrifying heat shrouded over, and those pieces were quickly burned to ashes. This scene seemed to have frightened the other black demon locusts, and they all retreated to the pool. Humph! Qin Feiyang snorted and waved his hand. The nether devil flame turned into a stream of light and directly entered the pool. Immediately, the pool began to boil, bubbling, and wisps of white mist rose. What is he trying to do? Everyone was puzzled. Lu Xingchen said, he probably wants to evaporate the water in the pool. Why is he doing this? Just to deal with the black demon locusts? Isn't it boring? Everyone couldn't help but frown. Humph! Fatso snorted secretly, his eyes full of disdain. Boring? What a joke. Boss never did meaningless things. There must be something in the pool that moved Boss's heart. Whoosh! Chapter 574. Arriving beside Qin Feiyang, Fatso whispered, Boss, what did you find? Qin Feiyang said, a strange flower. Strange flower. Fatso's eyes immediately lit up. The water temperature was getting higher and higher, and the steam was getting more and more. The water level was rapidly decreasing. Suddenly, Fatso seemed to have thought of something, and said, Boss, since that strange flower grows at the bottom of the pool, will you destroy it by doing this? His words woke the dreamer up. Qin Feiyang anxiously recalled the nether devil flame. Looking at the pool, he really couldn't think of a better idea. Finally, he gritted his teeth, looked at Fatso and said, I'll go down again, you stay here and watch carefully, I'm worried that the commotion just now has already attracted the attention of others. The others? Fatso was secretly shocked, and said in a low voice, "You mean the people from the other 8 continents?" Qin Feiyang scanned his surroundings, and said in a deep voice, "Although we haven't seen them yet, we still have to be on guard." "All right." Fatso nodded. Dong. Qin Feiyang held on to the Chang Shui, the nether devil flame above his head, and jumped into the pool once again. The water temperature was very high. However, with his current cultivation, it was still within his tolerance range. However, not long after he jumped into the pool, 5 figures shot out from the forest in front of him like lightning. When Fatso saw them, his face suddenly changed, and he roared, "Boss, come out quickly, Mo Wuxian and the others are here." Dong Zhengyang and the rest immediately gathered together and looked at the 5 of them gloomily. That's right. The people who came were Mo Wuxian, Pan Wuyan, Yan Tianfeng, Lu Yunfeng and Pei Sancher. Mo Wuxian swept his gaze across the crowd, his eyes filled with a cold light. He waved his hand and shouted, "Attack!" Boom! The aura of the 5 of them exploded. Mo Wuxian rushed towards Fatso, while Yan Tianfeng and the other 3 rushed towards Dong Zhengyang and the others. Fatso's face was pale white. Lu Yunfeng and Pei Sancher had actually already broken through to the War Master. In other words, there were currently 5 King-s of the War Master level in the Cloud State. How were they supposed to fight? With just Dong Zhengyang alone, it was impossible to block the attacks of these 5 people. Dong! Without any hesitation, he leaped and jumped into the pool. "You're pretty smart." Mo Wuxian sneered, and immediately flew towards Ren Wuxuang and the others. Dong Zhengyang hurriedly shouted, "You guys go quickly, I'll stop them." Yan Tianfeng sneered, "No one is allowed to leave. Otherwise, all of you will die." Pan Wuyan said, "If you surrender obediently and don't resist, we may let you live." Ren Wuxuang frowned. "What exactly do you want?" "What do you want?" "You'll know soon enough." Mo Wuxian smiled coldly. The 5 of them didn't kill them. They just surrounded Ren Wuxuang and the others in the middle. Then, they looked at the pool as if they were waiting for something. Dong! Soon. Qin Feiyang and Fatso both jumped out of the water and landed on the shore. Seeing Mo Wuxian and the others, Qin Feiyang's face darkened. "Finally out. Hand over that strange flower." Mo Wuxian said. "You guys know about it too?" Qin Feiyang frowned. "We knew about it long ago, but we couldn't do anything to those black demon locusts. Originally, we were all prepared to give up. Who knew that you guys would come here and find a way to restrain those black demon locusts? So, we hid in the forest nearby, waiting for the best time to strike." Qin Feiyang, I have to say, you're really a talent. You actually have a 5th-grade alchemy fire. Pan Wuyan said with a smile. Qin Feiyang said, "You guys are one step too early. I haven't gotten the strange flower yet. If you guys have the ability, go down yourself." "Didn't get it?" The 5 of them immediately raised their eyebrows. Qin Feiyang said, "I'm very confused. Do you know what that strange flower is? Why do you want it so badly?" "I don't know, but looking at it, I know it's not an ordinary thing." "Since you didn't get it, then give me your 5th-grade alchemy fire. If you dare to refuse, all of them will die in front of you." Mo Wuxian pointed at Ren Wuxuang and the others and said coldly. Qin Feiyang glanced at the crowd, and the corners of his mouth lifted slightly. He looked at Mo Wuxian and said with a faint smile, "To be honest, I'm also very annoyed with them. If you really kill them, it will save me a lot of trouble. Senior brother Qin, you can't do this. Please give them the alchemy fire and save us." Wu Yan and the others panicked and begged. "Is your life worth this 5th-grade alchemy fire?" Qin Feiyang sneered. "Bastard, I've been so loyal to you. I didn't expect you to be such a heartless person. I was blind. Dong Zhengyang immediately roared. Heart and lungs? Don't be funny. Who doesn't know that you want to kill me to avenge the Dong family? Qin Feiyang smiled disdainfully. Mo Wuxian glanced at Dong Zhengyang and looked at Qin Feiyang mockingly. It seems that you have a deep grudge in the spiritual state. Qin Feiyang shrugged and said helplessly, I can't help it. I'm just too likable. Pan Wuyan and the others' faces twitched. Not ashamed, but proud. How could there be such a thick-skinned person in the world? However, Mo Wuxian's gaze swept back and forth between Dong Zhengyang and Qin Feiyang. Suddenly, his eyes flashed and he gave the two a thumbs up. Amazing. I didn't expect you to be so talented in acting. I almost believed it. Qin Feiyang and Dong Zhengyang's hearts sank. That's right. They were indeed acting before to make Mo Wuxian and the others careless and then cooperate to save everyone. However, they didn't expect Mo Wuxian to see through it so quickly. Acting? Pan Wuyan and the others were stunned and their eyes turned cold. Yan Tianfeng waved his hand and his battle qi emerged, turning into a giant yellow hand and grabbing towards Ren Wushuang and the others. If you have the ability, fight me one-on-one. Dong Zhengyang shouted coldly and stepped in front of everyone. The black demonic seal instantly condensed and blasted towards the giant hand. At the same time, Qin Feiyang waved his hand and sent Fatso and the netherworld demonic flame into the castle. He then used phantom steps and rushed towards Ren Wushuang and the others. Humph! Mo Wuxian and Pan Wuyan snorted and stood in front of Qin Feiyang. Boom! Accompanied by a loud noise, the black demonic seal and the giant hand collided. The giant hand was just an ordinary attack and naturally couldn't block the black demonic seal. It instantly shattered and then the black demonic seal carried the power to destroy the world and blasted towards Yan Tianfeng. Heaven Dipper Art, Battle Shield. Yan Tianfeng bellowed, his fan-like hand stretched out in the air, his battle qi surged, condensing into a thick and heavy shield in front of him, blocking the black demonic seal. After a short exchange, the two of them retreated a few steps at the same time, a trace of blood flowing out from the corner of their mouths. Yan Tianfeng was furious, and shouted, Lu Yunfeng, Pei Sancher, follow me and destroy them. The two of them released their battle qi and their auras soared into the clouds. But at this time, Qin Feiyang's eyes flashed, and he said loudly, Lu Yunfeng, Pei Sancher, have you forgotten how they humiliated you in the past? Don't you want to wash away this humiliation? Immediately, Lu Yunfeng and Pei Sanchi's bodies stiffened. A raging anger burned in their hearts. Back then in the Spirit Cloud Mountain Range, the slap that Yan Tianfeng gave them was like a stain that was branded in their hearts, something that they would never be able to forget. A good chance. Seeing this, a cold light flashed in Dong Zhengyang's eyes. He took a mysterious step and rushed towards Yan Tianfeng. At the same time, Qin Feiyang and Mo Wuxian's battle also began. 7 Killing Arts, Open. Mo Wuxian's body trembled, blood qi coiled around his entire body, and his killing intent boiled. Whiz! Following closely, 100 zhang long blood-red blade appeared out of nowhere, charging towards Qin Feiyang, its sharpness tearing through the earth. Ice Heaven Manifestation. Above Pan Wuyan's head, a frost vortex also appeared, and a huge ice elephant roared out, its ferocious might unparalleled, and swooped down towards Qin Feiyang. The two of them used their battle arts the moment they made their move. From this, it could be seen how much they feared Qin Feiyang. But Qin Feiyang had no intention of fighting them head-on. When the two great battle arts rushed over, he directly entered the ancient castle. When the two great battle arts whistled past, he walked out of the ancient castle. Using the phantom steps, he left behind an incomparably real afterimage around Mo Wuxian and Pei Sancher. Mo Wuxian and Pei Sancher looked at those illusions, a little confused. Who exactly was Qin Feiyang's original body? Destroy all of them. Pan Wuyan suddenly let out a fierce roar. Chirp. Accompanied by a sharp chirp, an ice phoenix soared out of the vortex above her head. Wherever it passed, the illusions continued to dissipate. Looks like you didn't remember Commander Nie's lesson. But suddenly, a cold voice sounded behind Pan Wuyan. She suddenly tensed up, and hurriedly turned around. A cold face immediately entered her line of sight. It was Qin Feiyang. And it was close at hand. Out of fear of Qin Feiyang, she did not hesitate and immediately retreated. However, at the same time, she felt a pain in her chest, and instinctively looked down, only to see a pure white jade dagger sinking into her heart. Ah, the intense pain swept over like a tide, and she could not help but scream. But at the same time, a crazed look appeared in her eyes. She suddenly stretched out her hands, hugging Qin Feiyang tightly, and shouted, Mo Wuxian, quickly. Seeing this, Mo Wuxian's murderous aura soared, and several blood blades condensed in an instant, slashing towards Qin Feiyang's neck. Are you crazy? Qin Feiyang was furious. He really did not expect Pan Wuyan to be so crazy. Women were indeed creatures that should not be provoked. Pan Wuyan laughed sinisterly, even if I die, I will drag you down with me. Then you'd better die by yourself. Qin Feiyang's heart moved, and directly brought Pan Wuyan to the ancient castle. Boom! The moment he disappeared, several blood blades arrived, smashing into the ground. This place immediately exploded, leaving behind a huge crater. Damn it! Mo Wuxian was furious. Originally, this was the best opportunity to kill Qin Feiyang, but he did not expect him to escape. All of you must die. He seemed to have transformed into a violent beast, and turned to stare at Ren Wuxuang and the rest. Boom! He took a step forward, and madly rushed over. Inside the ancient castle, Qin Feiyang's body shook, and he forcefully pushed Pan Wuyan away, and punched her lower abdomen. Ah! With a shrill scream, Pan Wuyan was sent flying on the spot, crashing into the wall behind her. Kill her! Qin Feiyang said to Fatso, and his killing intent was bone-piercing. Pan Wuyan's heart was pierced by Chang Shui, and she was already at the end of her rope. So even if she stayed in the ancient castle, she would not be a threat to Fatso and the rest. Next, he took Chang Shui and left the ancient castle. When he saw Mo Wuxian rushing towards Ren Wuxuang and the rest, he used the phantom steps, and quickly chased after him, at the same time roaring, Mo Wuxian, if you dare to touch them, when I leave the 9 nether yellow springs, I will definitely go to Yunzhou and slaughter everyone in your Mo family. You have to have the ability to do so. Chapter 575. Qin Feiyang was furious and pushed his speed to the limit. However, even though he had the perfect phantom steps, Mo Wuxian was a war master and his speed was much faster than him. He really couldn't catch up. However, could it be that they were just going to watch Mo Wuxuang kill Ren Wuxuang and the others? He didn't care about the others. But Ren Wuxuang, he had no choice but to care. Senior brother Qin, save us. I don't want to die yet. At the same time, seeing the crazed Mo Wuxian, Wu Yan and the others turned pale with fright. They began to call for Qin Feiyang's help non-stop. Looking at Dong Zhengyang, he was tightly entangled by Yen Tianfeng and was unable to escape. Qin Feiyang, I want you to watch them die one by one in front of you. This is the price of provoking me. Go to hell. Mo Wuxian went completely crazy, the murderous aura around his body turned into bloody sharp blades, exuding an astonishing destructive power, and rushed towards Ren Wuxuang and the others. Shenlong, Jiang Wei, please, you must block it. Please rest assured, even if your sea of qi is shattered, I can still save you. At this moment, only Shenlong and Jiang Wei could save everyone from the fire and water. Although it was very likely that they would die because of this, there was no other way now. Mo Wuxian mocked, you can still save a shattered sea of qi, a shattered sea of consciousness, do you think you are a god? Whether he can save us or not, we will still take action. Without hesitation. Shenlong and Jiang Wei looked at each other, their eyes filled with determination. Next, the two of them took a step forward at the same time and stood in front of everyone. Then, their bodies shook and their battle qi surged out like a torrent. Hurricane slash. Tiger subduing celestial phenomenon. With a low shout from the two, their battle qi soared into the sky, condensing into a huge hurricane and a huge golden tiger above their heads, releasing a destructive aura. Woo woo. Ao. The two of them waved their hands and the hurricane howled, the tiger's roar shook the sky, and two battle arts blasted towards the blood blades at the same time. Boom. Immediately, a deafening explosion echoed in the area. Retreat! Ren Wuxia shouted. Everyone quickly retreated, but their eyes were firmly locked onto Shenlong and Yi Shiwen. They kept praying in their hearts that they absolutely could not fall. Why am I so weak? If my cultivation is strong enough, I can protect everyone. To think that I'm the granddaughter of the manor head. What a joke. Ren Wuxia looked at the fearless Shenlong duo and blamed himself in his heart. Ah. But in the end, Shenlong and the other man were still unable to persevere. Accompanied by a blood-curdling scream, his body was sent flying. Blood spurted from his mouth, and the two battle arts were destroyed by the blood blade. While flying, the two of them glanced at Qin Feiyang behind Mo Wuxian. Jiang Wei said, Qin Feiyang won't be able to arrive in time. We still have to do something. Then let's do it. Shenlong said. The two of them knew that they would definitely die this time, but both their tone and expression were extremely calm. In fact, they were also afraid of death. But for the dignity of the spiritual state, they chose to defend it to the end. Compared to Dongfang Wuhan and Murong Xiong, they were indeed much better and worthy of admiration. Clang! Two loud noises exploded, as if divine weapons were unsheathed, resounding through the sky. Behind the two of them, two bright lights rushed out at the same time. And in the light, there were two battle souls. Shenlong's battle soul was a giant sword that was more than 100 feet long. It was as if it was cast in gold, emitting a dazzling light. Jiang Wei's battle soul was a long halberd that was about the same size as the golden giant sword. It was surrounded by an invisible storm that was whining. In the blink of an eye. As soon as the two battle souls appeared, they carried the power to destroy the world and blasted towards the blood blades. Boom! Immediately, the two battle souls collapsed. The two of them spat out blood again and crashed into the forest beside them. Ancient trees fell one after another, and leaves flew all over the sky. Finally, the two of them crashed into a short mountain that was more than 100 feet high. The short mountain collapsed on the spot, and the two of them were instantly buried in the mud. At the same time, those blood blades also collapsed. Mo Wuxian took a few steps back, and a trace of blood flowed from the corner of his mouth. Damn it! His face was ferocious. He didn't expect that there would be such a fearless person in the spiritual state. It was also at this time. Qin Feiyang took the opportunity to approach Mo Wuxian, but did not attack him. He swept past him and went straight to Ren Wuxia and the others. He was not afraid of confronting Mo Wuxian head-on. But now, there were two uncertain factors. The first factor was Lu Yunfeng and Pei Sancher. No matter what grudges they had with Mo Wuxian, the two of them were still from the cloud state. In the end, it was likely that they would still choose to attack. The second factor was that the battle here was too intense. If there were other people nearby, they would definitely be on their way. So, he had to send Ren Wuxia and the others away first. In this way, he could give it his all. Senior brother Qin, what should we do? Quickly think of a way. As soon as Qin Feiyang stopped in front of Ren Wuxia, everyone rushed forward. But at this time, Mo Wuxian roared, Lu Yunfeng, Pei Sancher, what are you still standing there for? Don't forget the warning master gave you before you left. Qin Feiyang turned his head and saw Mo Wuxian rushing over with a murderous aura. He saw Lu Yunfeng and Pei Sancher again. The two of them were silent for a moment, and finally made their move. Qin Feiyang's heart sank, and he turned to Ren Wuxia and said, take everyone away immediately and find a hidden place to hide. What about you? Ren Wuxia said anxiously. When the matter here is over, I will come to find you. Qin Feiyang said in a deep voice. Okay. Ren Wuxia nodded and whispered in Qin Feiyang's ear, I will leave a mark on the road, be careful. After saying that, she led everyone to retreat into the forest behind. Mo Wuxian shouted, stop them. Lu Yunfeng and Pei Sancher immediately chased after Ren Wuxia and the others. Whoosh! Qin Feiyang turned around, and a cold light flashed in his eyes. He took a step forward and stood in front of the two. You are very strong. If you escape alone, no one can stop you. Why do you care about their life and death? Pei Sancher was puzzled. Qin Feiyang said, they are my companions. Of course I have to protect them. Companions? If they are true companions, then there is nothing wrong with that. But according to my observation, they only treat you as a companion because you can protect them. If you don't have this ability, I believe they would have abandoned you long ago. Is it worth it? Pei Sancher asked. Qin Feiyang turned his head and looked at the ruins in the forest behind them. That was where Shenlong and Jiang Wei were buried. Qin Feiyang's expression was somewhat complicated. He looked back at Pei Sancher and shook his head, I don't know if it is worth it or not, but Shenlong and Jiang Wei's actions moved me. Mo Wuxian shouted, what are you still talking about? Let's kill him together. At this time, he was only a dozen meters away from Qin Feiyang. After he finished speaking, a blood-red light rushed out from his back. It was a blood-red sword the size of a thumb. Although it looked inconspicuous, it emitted a shocking sharpness. This was his battle spirit. He did not dare to be careless when dealing with Qin Feiyang. Therefore, he used his trump card. Pei Sancher glanced at Mo Wuxian and then looked at Qin Feiyang, I admire your character and courage, but we are enemies. Therefore, this battle is inevitable. Lu Yunfeng also said, after knowing your true identity, I also want to fight with you. Today, let us have a good fight. Qin Feiyang secretly sneered. He was not stupid enough to fight with the three great sections. Whoosh! He used the phantom steps and rushed toward Dong Zhengyang. Want to leave? No way! Mo Wuxian shouted. The small blood-red sword trembled in the void. Then, it shot toward Qin Feiyang like a sharp arrow. Lu Yunfeng and the other two also activated their battle arts. Following closely behind the blood-colored sword, they aggressively charged towards Qin Feiyang. Fight! At this moment, Qin Feiyang did not hesitate to use the battle art. His black hair and eyes instantly turned blood-red, as if they were dyed with blood. Immediately after, he slapped with his palm. In his palm, the return art appeared. A golden wave appeared, containing a hidden power, and rushed toward the blood-red sword and the two battle arts. Boom! The two collided. The blood-red sword and the two battle arts suddenly changed sides and attacked Mo Wuxian and the other two. This kind of battle art again. The three of them were shocked and hurriedly retreated to the side, narrowly avoiding this fatal blow. But at the same time, Qin Feiyang's arm also shattered, flesh and blood flying everywhere. However, he did not even frown. Instead, he borrowed the force of the impact to speed up and rush toward Dong Zhengyang. Just in time. Yan Tianfeng, who was locked in battle with Dong Zhengyang, saw Qin Feiyang approaching and immediately abandoned Dong Zhengyang and rushed toward Qin Feiyang. "Your opponent is me," Dong Zhengyang shouted and immediately chased after him. But at this moment, Qin Feiyang shouted to Dong Zhengyang, "I'll hold them back, quickly go and see if Shenlong and Jiang Wei are dead." Dong Zhengyang was bewildered. Hold them back? Was he crazy? One had to know that there were 4 battle masters in front of him. Even if Qin Feiyang's battle strength was heaven-defying, it was impossible for him to be a match for them. Putting this aside, with the current situation, was there a need to care about the life and death of Shenlong and Jiang Wei? "Go quickly," Qin Feiyang said angrily. Dong Zhengyang's heart trembled. At this moment, he seemed to feel the majesty of an emperor from Qin Feiyang. The words that came out of his mouth made him not dare to disobey. Whoosh! He swallowed his saliva, turned around and rushed into the forest, rushing toward the ruins. Want to save them? No way. Yan Tianfeng, who was rushing toward Qin Feiyang, immediately turned around and chased after Dong Zhengyang. "Don't chase, kill Qin Feiyang first," Mo Wuxian shouted coldly. "Okay." Yan Tianfeng immediately turned around and charged toward Qin Feiyang. Indeed, Qin Feiyang was the biggest threat. As long as he got rid of Qin Feiyang, the rest of the people in the spiritual state were nothing to worry about. Lu Yunfeng and Pei Sancher also followed Mo Wuxian. Facing the 4 battle masters, Qin Feiyang not only did not panic, but was also unprecedentedly calm. Inside the ancient castle. "Little Qin Zi, what's going on?" Wolf King had already been awakened. It had been waiting for Qin Feiyang to enter the ancient castle and take it out to fight. It was also mentally prepared for a bloody battle, but Qin Feiyang did not come in. Chapter 576. Brother Wolf, don't worry. If he doesn't come in, it means that he is still confident. Lu Hong advised from the side. Yes, I believe in Brother Feiyang. Lin Yi followed. Having said that, the deep worry on their faces was enough to show that their hearts were not calm at this moment. Boom! A loud noise came into the castle. Everyone knew that the battle outside had begun. Outside, Qin Feiyang and Mo Wuxian's group of 4 launched a fierce battle. He was at an absolute disadvantage fighting against 4 people alone. In less than 3 breaths, his body was full of scars. But relying on the battle character tactic, no matter how serious the blow he received, he was still lively. The battle character tactic couldn't give Qin Feiyang a true immortal body. There was also a limit to his endurance. As long as he reached the limit, he would still die. However, the strength of Mo Wuxian's group had obviously not reached this limit. As the battle heated up, Mo Wuxian's group of 4 became more and more surprised. This guy's ability to withstand a beating is too terrifying, right? If it were someone else, not to mention an 8-star war emperor, even a 1-star war ancestor with the same realm as them would have died in their hands long ago. But this person didn't show any signs of weakness? Is this a dream? I don't believe it. Yan Tianfeng suddenly roared. His fist was covered with battle qi, and he punched Qin Feiyang's back with all his strength. Boom! Immediately, Qin Feiyang was like a meteorite, smashing into a boulder in front of him. The boulder shattered on the spot. Qin Feiyang fell to the ground, spurting blood from his mouth. His back was lacerated, his bones were broken, and even his internal organs were damaged. However, the next moment, he turned over and jumped up, standing firmly on the ground. His whole body was in high spirits, and his fighting spirit was unparalleled. How is this possible? What kind of monster are you? Yan Tianfeng was dumbfounded. Monster? The corner of Qin Feiyang's mouth lifted, revealing a bright smile. You can still smile? I don't believe that I can't kill you. Yan Tianfeng was furious and attacked Qin Feiyang again. Swoosh! Qin Feiyang didn't retreat but advanced instead. The two of them collided like lightning. Yan Tianfeng's fist landed on Qin Feiyang's chest. His khaki-colored battle qi exuded a heavy aura. Puff! Qin Feiyang spat out a mouthful of blood and was sent flying. But at the same time, Qin Feiyang also grabbed Chang Shui and cut off Yan Tianfeng's arm, causing blood to gush out. He can still fight back. Mo Wuxian and the other two turned pale with fright. Did this person consume some kind of miraculous pill? Qin Feiyang, they are still alive. At this moment, Dong Zhengyang's voice came from the forest. Qin Feiyang was overjoyed. He turned around without hesitation and rushed into the jungle. Trying to escape? Mo Wuxian smiled disdainfully and chased after them with Yan Tianfeng and the other two. Boom! Behind the four of them, a fighting soul sword. Whoosh! Mo Wuxian's battle soul blood-red sword was the first to attack Qin Feiyang, giving him a taste of his own medicine. Qin Feiyang roared and slapped with his right palm. Golden light surged and pounced on the blood-red sword. Boom! The sword was instantly sent flying. Qin Feiyang's arm finally reached its limit and shattered. The blood in his mouth was spurting out like crazy. But at this moment, Yan Tianfeng and the other two's fighting souls also attacked. Qin Feiyang gritted his teeth and kept Chang Shui. His left hand shot out and the return formula appeared again. In the end, the three fighting souls were sent flying. But his left hand was also instantly shattered. Mo Wuxian sneered. Let's see what else you can do after losing your hands. Yan Tianfeng, petrify him. The four of them were faster than Qin Feiyang. Very soon, they caught up with Qin Feiyang. Yan Tianfeng stretched out his arm and grabbed Qin Feiyang's left shoulder. Wisps of battle qi gushed out from his palm. Upon hearing the word petrify, Qin Feiyang's expression changed on the spot. If he was really petrified by Yan Tianfeng, then even if he had the battle formula, he would not be able to escape death today. So, when Yan Tianfeng grabbed him, he decisively entered the castle. Little Qin Zi, what's wrong with you? Why didn't you come in earlier? With my help, you wouldn't have fallen to this point. Wolf King immediately said angrily. Just focus on your seclusion. Qin Feiyang glanced at it and looked at Fatso. Give me a regeneration pill. Fatso quickly took out the regeneration pill and fed it to Qin Feiyang. Don't worry about me, I won't die yet. After hurriedly leaving these words, Qin Feiyang left the castle and saw Mo Wuxian and the other three rushing towards Dong Zhengyang. Didn't you want to kill me? Why are you running now? Qin Feiyang sneered, full of provocation. But Mo Wuxian and the other three didn't even look at him. After fighting for so long, they deeply realized a problem. It was impossible to kill Qin Feiyang. Because Qin Feiyang had a treasure that could hide. As long as they hid in it, even if they had heaven-defying instincts, they could only stare helplessly. So, instead of continuing to tangle with Qin Feiyang, it was better to take down Dong Zhengyang and the other two to threaten Qin Feiyang. Even if Qin Feiyang was not threatened, he could still directly kill the three of them and cause the spiritual state to lose three powerful combat forces. Qin Fei Yang's face darkened when he saw that the four of them had failed in their provocation. He shouted, "Dong Zhengyang, take them and flee quickly. You have the same cultivation as them. They won't be able to catch up to you." Dong Zhengyang was running over with the unconscious Shenlong and the other two, trying to help Qin Fei Yang escape. Hearing this, he immediately stopped and frowned. "What about you?" Qin Fei Yang said disdainfully, "Don't worry, they can't do anything to me." "Okay." Dong Zhengyang looked deeply at Qin Fei Yang, and without hesitation, he turned around and rushed into the depths of the forest. Yan Tianfeng roared, "Today, even if I have to go to heaven or hell, I will chase him to the end." But at this time, Lu Yunfeng stopped and shook his head. "He also has a high-grade auxiliary battle art, we can't catch up." Slap. Before he finished speaking, a scene that left Qin Fei Yang dumbfounded appeared. Yan Tianfeng slapped Lu Yunfeng and Dong Zhengyang's faces and roared, "Isn't this all your fault? If you had attacked from the beginning, how could they have had the chance to escape?" Lu Yunfeng and Dong Zhengyang stared at Yan Tianfeng and touched their burning faces, their eyes gradually darkening. Mo Wuxian, who was at the side, glanced at the three of them, then turned to look at Qin Fei Yang, without any intention of interfering. Qin Fei Yang watched all of this, and the corner of his mouth gradually curled up into a playful smile. If it was in the past, when Yan Tianfeng gave Lu Yunfeng and Dong Zhengyang a slap, the two of them could only silently endure it. But now, the two of them were no longer the same as before. Yan Tianfeng still slapped them in the face, which was undoubtedly a very unwise action. As for Mo Wuxian, he obviously had his own plans. Because whether it was Yan Tianfeng or Lu Yunfeng, they were just chess pieces in his eyes. Sooner or later, they would be eliminated. Therefore, he was very happy to see this kind of thing, so he naturally wouldn't care about it. But to Qin Fei Yang, this was an opportunity. He looked at Lu Yunfeng and Dong Zhengyang, shook his head and sighed. "It seems that even if you two break through to War Master, your status in the Cloud region will not increase in the slightest." The two of them looked at Qin Fei Yang in unison, their eyes shining with a cold light. "Could it be that I'm wrong? There's an old saying that goes, 'Don't hit people in the face.' But now, he slapped you in the face in front of me. Doesn't this prove that in his eyes, you are still ants? You two, I have a suggestion. Why don't we form an alliance and kill them here? With the strength of the three of us, killing Yan Tianfeng and Mo Wuxian is easy. As for my character, all of you have seen it for yourselves. I am completely worthy of your trust. After we kill them, we will go to the other side of the 9 nether yellow springs together, and then enter the imperial capital together. How about it?" Qin Fei Yang laughed. Lu Yunfeng and Dong Zhengyang looked at each other, clearly moved. Although they didn't spend much time with Qin Fei Yang, and didn't know much about Qin Fei Yang, compared to Mo Wuxian and Dong Zhengyang, it made them feel more at ease. Seeing this, Mo Wuxian's heart skipped a beat. If Lu Yunfeng and Pei Sancher really changed sides at the last minute, it would be a disaster for him. He never thought that at this time, Qin Fei Yang would still be able to come up with a plan to sow discord, and directly destroy his little plan. He turned to look at Yan Tianfeng and shouted, "What are you doing? Who gave you the right to slap them in the face? Why aren't you apologizing to them?" Yan Tianfeng clenched his fists, his heart was full of unwillingness. But he also knew the consequences of Lu Yunfeng and Dong Zhengyang's betrayal, so he could only put down his face and bow to the two. "I'm sorry, I was impulsive before, I hope you can forgive me." Mo Wuxian also laughed and said, "Lu Yunfeng, Pei Sancher, we are the most outstanding people in Yunzhou, we carry a heavy burden on our shoulders, please don't be bewitched by scoundrels." The two lowered their heads and remained silent. Mo Wuxian said, "If you still can't let it go, you can return it, I won't interfere." Yan Tianfeng said angrily. Mo Wuxian, what do you mean? This is the consequence of your own actions, who's to blame? Mo Wuxian sneered. All right. Lu Yunfeng nodded, raised his head and looked at Yan Tianfeng, and said, as long as you can obediently let us slap you a few times, we will let bygones be bygones. You dare? Yan Tianfeng shouted. Then there's nothing I can do. Lu Yunfeng laughed coldly, turned around and looked at Qin Feiyang, and said, all right, but before he could finish, Mo Wuxian's face suddenly changed. He stepped forward and covered Lu Yunfeng's mouth, and smiled apologetically, I'll try to persuade you again. Following that, he looked at Yan Tianfeng and roared, what exactly are you trying to do? Do you really want to die here? Yan Tianfeng's gaze trembled, he looked at Qin Feiyang gloomily, looked at Lu Yunfeng and said while gritting his teeth, all right, I'll let you guys hit me. Pa! Just as Yan Tianfeng finished speaking, Pei Sancher raised his arm and ruthlessly slapped Yan Tianfeng's face. A blood-red palm print immediately appeared. You didn't expect this day to come, right? Pei Sancher sneered and slapped him again, causing half of Yan Tianfeng's face to swell up. Following that, Lu Yunfeng also slapped him twice. The other half of Yan Tianfeng's face also swelled up, and a trace of blood flowed out from the corner of his mouth. At this moment, Yan Tianfeng was about to go crazy. Like a wild beast that was about to go berserk, his eyes were completely red. The hatred in his heart towards Lu Yunfeng, Pei Sancher, and Mo Wuxian was so intense that it could not be restrained. Similarly, there was also Qin Feiyang. Because, if not for Qin Feiyang fanning the flames, he would not have suffered such humiliation. However, Qin Feiyang was rather disappointed. Chapter 577. However, it was not without gains. At least, it bought enough time for Dong Zhengyang and Ren Wuxuang to escape. Now, it was impossible for Mo Wuxian and the rest to continue chasing after them. Qin Feiyang did not delay any longer. He smiled and said, the four of you, it's a small world. We'll meet again next time. Wait. Mo Wuxian hurriedly said. Is there anything else? Qin Feiyang asked. Mo Wuxian said in a deep voice, where's Pan Wuyan? Quickly hand her over to us. Her? Qin Feiyang was stunned. He shook his head and said, I don't know if she's dead or not. But I can return her to you. As he spoke, Qin Feiyang waved his hand and a bloody person appeared on the ground in front of him. It was Pan Wuyan. But at this moment, Pan Wuyan's aura was gone and her face was as pale as paper. She was clearly dead. I'm sorry. My fat brother was too heavy-handed and accidentally killed her. You guys find a place to bury her. Goodbye. Qin Feiyang laughed mockingly. He waved at the four of them and disappeared without a trace in a flash. Looking at Pan Wuyan's cold corpse, the four of them had ugly expressions. Especially Yan Tianfeng. He had the best relationship with Pan Wuyan and they had been partners for a long time. Now that Pan Wuyan was dead, he was alone. How could he compete with Mo Wuxian and Lu Yunfeng in the future? Lu Yunfeng, Pei Sancher, I know that I have no right to blame you for what happened today. After all, we used to bully you guys. It's normal for you guys to have resentment. But I still have to say that you guys are indeed in the wrong. You have to know that only the 5 of us came to the 9 nether yellow springs from Yunzhou. Any one of us is extremely important. But now, Pan Wuyan died not long after we entered the death swamp. Only the 4 of us are left. To us, this is not good news. So I hope that before we reach the other side, we can put down our grudges and stop killing each other. Mo Wuxian said in a painful tone. Alright, we'll listen to you. But the condition is that you stop telling us what to do. Lu Yunfeng and the other two pondered for a moment before taking the lead to express their stance. Yan Tianfeng glanced at the three of them and snorted coldly. Do I have a choice now? Mo Wuxian said, since we've reached an agreement, then let's bury her. After burying Pan Wuyan, Pei Sanshi frowned and asked, what about the strange flower under the pond? Forget it. Qin Feiyang won't give up. We can't beat him. In the future, let's not provoke him. Let's set out immediately and rush towards the depths of the swamp of death. We'll strive to be the first to arrive at the other side. Mo Wuxian said. Lu Yunfeng and the other two nodded. Comparing Qin Feiyang to the imperial capital was obviously more important. Mo Wuxian said, there's no time to lose, let's go. Whoosh! The four of them disappeared into the forest in the blink of an eye. This place quickly fell into a deathly silence. Inside the castle. Hearing the four's conversation, Qin Feiyang suddenly realized. He was wondering why Mo Wuxian and the others entered the death swamp so quickly and even found a good place to ambush them. It turned out that only the 5 of them came to participate in the great battle of the 9 states. The people of the Cloud State were smart. They knew that those below the War Master realm could only be cannon fodder in the 9 underworlds, so they gave up. This way, Mo Wuxian and the others had an easier time. On the other hand, the people of the Spirit State rushed in. But what was the result? They didn't even know what the death swamp was like. They lost their lives for nothing. How stupid. Sigh. Qin Feiyang sighed deeply and looked at Fatso. The situation of the great battle of the 9 states is far beyond my expectations. Before you break through to the War Master realm, don't go out again. Fatso nodded. Although he was usually timid, with his current strength, he definitely had the ability to dominate those below the War Master realm. For people like Wu Yan, even 10 of them together wouldn't be his opponent. But in the face of experts above the War Master realm, his strength was not enough. So, breaking through to the War Master realm became a top priority for Fatso. As for Wolf King, he had already broken through to the 9-star Combat Emperor. He was not far from breaking through to the War Master realm. The Pangolin, Lu Hong, Luo Qianxue, and Lin Yi's strength had also improved greatly. But in the 9 underworlds, they obviously couldn't help Qin Feiyang. The only ones who could help him were Fatso and Wolf King. Just as Qin Feiyang was about to leave the castle, Lin Yi suddenly said, Brother Feiyang, didn't you say that you have a surprise for me? Surprise? Qin Feiyang was taken aback for a moment, then patted his forehead, shook his head, and smiled, Look at me, I was so busy that I almost forgot about it. Wait a moment. After saying that, Qin Feiyang walked to the altar and opened the furnace to refine pills. In less than 10 breaths, a crimson fire-colored glass pill with 4 pill patterns came out of the furnace. Qin Feiyang grabbed the medicinal pill, walked to Lin Yi, and smiled, Crimson fire-colored glass pill is different from Juku yellow dragon pill. A crimson fire-colored glass pill with 4 pill patterns is enough for you to break through 5 small realms. 5 small realms. Lin Yi's gaze trembled. Sure enough, it was a great surprise. Qin Feiyang said, in fact, you don't have to think so much. I believe that I have the ability to protect you. Lin Yi took the medicinal pill, lowered her head, and said, but I want to protect you and help you. Ugh! Qin Feiyang was stunned. Wolf King smiled and said, little girl, it's not that I want to discourage you, but with your strength, you will never be able to help us. Lin Yi suddenly felt lost. No one will treat you as a mute if you don't talk. Qin Feiyang glared at Wolf King fiercely and looked at Lin Yi with a smile, don't listen to its nonsense. I believe that you can protect me one day, but I am afraid that others will say that I rely on women behind my back. Puff! Lin Yi immediately laughed through her tears. Well, you guys cultivate. I will go out and see if I can get that strange flower. Qin Feiyang smiled, left the castle, and walked toward the pool. He always had a feeling in his heart that if he missed that strange flower, he would regret it for a lifetime. He was also familiar with that strange flower, but he couldn't remember its name for a while. After a while, he came to the pool, but when he saw the current pool, his heart skipped a beat. The previous battle not only caused serious damage to this land, but the pool was also unrecognizable at this moment. Qin Feiyang was worried that the strange flower would also be affected. Boom! He did not hesitate and jumped in directly. However, as soon as he jumped into the water, more than a dozen black demon locusts swarmed up and attached themselves to his body. He immediately felt that these disgusting bugs were crazily sucking his blood and desperately trying to burrow into his body. Anyone who encountered this situation would feel their scalp tingle. Qin Feiyang was no exception. He quickly climbed ashore and summoned the netherworld demonic flame. The terrifying high temperature suddenly shrouded all directions. More than a dozen black demon locusts suddenly left his body in panic and rushed toward the pool. Die! Qin Feiyang pointed his finger, and the red sword aura surged out, instantly tearing their flesh body apart. Coupled with the burning of the pill fire, they were quickly burned to ashes. Qin Feiyang looked at the dozens of bloody holes on his body, and he couldn't help but feel scared. Fortunately, he reacted in time. Otherwise, when the black demon locusts got into his body, he was equivalent to a delicious cake that they could only suck. Boom! Without hesitation, Qin Feiyang jumped into the pool again with the netherworld demonic flame. The netherworld demonic flame was in a half-awakened state. As soon as it entered the water, the temperature of the pool began to rise. Qin Feiyang was afraid that something would happen to the strange flower, so he quickly sank to the bottom. On the way, the black demon locusts he encountered did not dare to approach him, but they all followed behind him. A moment later, Qin Feiyang finally arrived at the bottom of the pool. The eerie white bones were a ghastly sight. Black demon locusts lay around the strange flower, and were very resistant to Qin Feiyang, an outsider. Qin Feiyang looked at the strange flower, and could not help but let out a long sigh of relief. Although the fluctuations of the battle before were very terrifying, but fortunately the pool was very deep and did not affect the strange flower. Immediately, he held his breath and gradually approached the strange flower. The netherworld demonic flame in his hand emitted a hot wave, and the black demon locusts around the strange flower were constantly forced to retreat. Seeing this situation, Qin Feiyang was very excited. If there was no accident, he would be able to smoothly obtain the strange flower. However, an accident just happened. When he was only 1 meter away from the strange flower, the black demon locusts that were forced to retreat were not afraid of the high temperature of the netherworld demonic flame, and once again surrounded the strange flower. Obviously, they swore to protect the strange flower even if they died. Qin Feiyang had to stop, and looked very angry. But from the side, it also showed that this strange flower was definitely not ordinary. What to do? Just as he was thinking of a way, suddenly 2 faint sounds came from above, as if something fell into the pool. Mo Wuxian and the other 3 haven't given up yet? Qin Feiyang's heart trembled, and immediately looked up, his eyes full of vigilance. But as time passed, Qin Feiyang gradually felt that something was wrong. Now more than 300 breaths had passed. If it was really Mo Wuxian and the others, they must have reached the bottom of the pool. But now, no one came down, and he could only feel the water above moving. What was going on? Qin Feiyang frowned, but suddenly thought, could it be that someone was bathing above? If so, then it was definitely not Mo Wuxian and the others. But then again, this person was really careless. With the nether demonic flame, the temperature of the pool continued to rise, and it was easy to sense that something was wrong here. If it was him, he would definitely come down to check first. Maybe in this person's eyes, this was a natural hot spring. Thinking of this, Qin Feiyang could not help but shake his head and laugh. At this time, he still had the mood to think about this. He lowered his head again, looking at the black demon locusts. Suddenly, he clenched his teeth, stretched out his left hand, and directly reached into the group of black demon locusts, and then grabbed the strange flower. Suddenly, a heart-wrenching pain came from his arm. He felt that, at this moment, there were dozens of black demon locusts attached to his arm. But he did not care, and used force to pull out the strange flower, and quickly entered the ancient castle. The moment he entered the ancient castle, he took out the Chang Shui, and without any hesitation, slashed at his left shoulder. Poof! Immediately, his arm was cut off, and blood poured out like a waterfall. Bang! The broken left arm fell to the ground, and dozens of black demon locusts climbed out one after another, and immediately rushed towards the group. Seeing this, Lin Yi and Lu Hong suddenly turned pale. Chapter 578. Qin Feiyang shouted, "Fatso, I want to revive the nether devil flame. Quickly put away that strange flower." While speaking, he took a big stride and stood in front of Lin Yi and the others. He then took out the Chang Shui and kept waving it in the air. His waving movements were so fast that it was dazzling. But every time he waved, he could cut off a black demon locust. For a moment, blood splattered everywhere. In a few breaths, dozens of black demon locusts fell to the ground one after another and were cut into several pieces. But they were still wriggling. This was a process of their rebirth, but this process was very short. If they were not dealt with in time, hundreds of black demon locusts would appear in this castle later. At that time, the castle would be occupied by these terrifying creatures, and there would be no place for them to stay. At the same time, Fatso stretched out his hand to grab the strange flower, but he retracted his arm in lightning speed and hid in a corner as if he was running for his life. Because there were 3 black demon locusts entangled on the strange flower. "Look at you." Wolf King glared at Fatso disdainfully. Yes, this emperor has never seen such a timid person like you." The pangolin beast next to him echoed. However, looking at the 3 black demon locusts, they also hesitated. Qin Feiyang looked at these 3 beasts and couldn't help but feel annoyed. It seems that at the critical moment, he still had to step in. "Protect Yi and the others." Qin Feiyang shouted coldly, and the nether devil flame was fully revived. The terrifying high temperature suddenly filled every corner of the castle. Wolf King immediately condensed a battle chi barrier to protect Lin Yi and the others. Those black demon locusts that were cut off earlier were quickly burned to ashes under this high temperature. But the 3 black demon locusts entangled on the strange flower did not retreat at all. "You guys are quite brave." Qin Feiyang was afraid that the strange flower would also be burned by this high temperature, so he immediately rushed towards the strange flower. However, at this time, all of a sudden, the 3 black demon locusts dashed towards Qin Feiyang at lightning speed. Their targets were Qin Feiyang's eyes and ears. If the black demon locusts really got into his ears or eyes, his brain would probably be sucked dry by the black demon locusts. Just thinking about it made him shudder. At the same time, Qin Feiyang also noticed that the strange flower had withered and was even emitting green smoke. It was obvious that it was about to burn. "Fatso, quick!" Qin Feiyang roared. Chang Shui streaked across the sky and cut the 3 black demon locusts into pieces. Without the black demon locusts, Fatso was no longer afraid. He quickly pounced forward, grabbed the strange flower, and put it into his Qiankuan bag. Very soon, the 3 black demon locusts were also burned to ashes by the nether devil flame. With a thought from Qin Feiyang, the high temperature of the netherworld demonic flame immediately receded like a receding tide. He immediately looked at Fatso and said, "Quickly let me see the strange flower." Fatso took out the strange flower. Qin Feiyang grabbed it in his hand, looked left and right, looked up and down, and finally let out a long sigh of relief. The water in the strange flower was gone, but its essence was still there, and it would not lose its medicinal efficacy. Lu Hong said at this time, "Qin Feiyang, can you throw your arm out first and watch it beat people up?" Beat people up? Qin Feiyang was taken aback. He looked down at the left arm that he had cut off, but saw that it was full of holes and blood was flowing out. It did look a little creepy. He had wanted to reattach it, but now he was not in the mood. He waved his hand and threw the arm out. Fatso said, "Boss, don't bring this kind of thing in next time. It's scary." This time, I support Fatso. Let's not talk about whether or not this thing will harm everyone. Merely, your behavior is simply too dangerous. Have you ever thought about what if these things drill into your heart, your lower abdomen, or even your brain? Wolf King said. I had no choice. They surrounded the strange flower 3 times on the inside and 3 times on the outside. I could only take it by force. But I also calculated it in advance. At that time, I only put my arm in. If they want to drill, they can only drill into my arm. As long as I enter the castle in time and cut off my arm, they can't drill into other places. Qin Feiyang said with a smile. Fine, we were worried for nothing. Wolf King rolled his eyes at him, then lay down on the side and closed his eyes to meditate. Qin Feiyang smiled helplessly. He took out a regeneration pill and a healing pill and swallowed them, then looked down at the strange flower carefully. Fatso went up, his eyes shining, and said, Boss, think carefully. What kind of treasure is this? At the bottom of the lake. When Qin Feiyang snatched the strange flower, the black demon locusts immediately went crazy and rushed around at the bottom. When Qin Feiyang threw out his arm, they immediately swarmed up. In the blink of an eye, all the flesh and blood disappeared, leaving only a white bone. Then, the swarm of black demon locusts rushed up. At the same time, above the pool, 2 young women were playing in the water. Sister, it's so comfortable. I didn't expect there to be such a natural hot spring in this damned place. The only flaw is that the water temperature is a bit too high. You should be satisfied. It's already very lucky to find a water source here. After washing off the dirt on our bodies, we'll go down and look for it. Maybe there are some treasures. The 2 women were very beautiful. Their skin was delicate and had a charming luster. Their big eyes were as clear as a mirror. Their wet hair, as well as their bodies that were faintly discernible in the water, exuded a fatal temptation. And they looked exactly the same. Even their hair was light gold. But on the shore, there were 2 blood-stained white gauze dresses. This proved that the 2 women were not simple people. And on the dresses, there were 2 exquisite qiankun bags, as well as 2 sets of underwear that would make one's nose bleed. In other words, the 2 women were completely naked in the water. There's movement below. Suddenly, one of the women stopped playing and her face became very serious. The other woman also floated on the water surface and listened carefully. Suddenly, her face changed and she shouted, Go ashore. Splash. The 2 women rushed to the shore with a splash. Then, they grabbed their respective qiankun bags and took out 2 sets of brand new dresses. Of course, they also had underwear and quickly put them on. Then, the 2 women stared at the water surface. Whoosh! In less than 3 breaths, a swarm of black demon locusts rushed out of the pool. When they saw the 2 women, they immediately rushed towards them. What? There's actually such disgusting things under the pool? The two women's faces changed and they immediately turned to the side of the forest. At the same time, one of the women shouted, "Men!" Whoosh! Immediately, in the side of the forest, a dozen figures rushed out. They were all young men around 25 or 26 years old. They were also wearing white clothes. But on their chests, there was a small word embroidered. Empty. And their bodies were also stained with blood. Their hair was disheveled and their faces were dirty. They looked quite miserable. A young man in white who rushed to the front asked, "Xuening, Xuerua, what's wrong?" "There are black demon locusts in the pool. They're too much. They hid down there and peeped at us bathing. Quickly get rid of them." The two women said angrily. "Black demon locusts." The young men looked towards the pool. When they saw the swarm of black demon locusts, their faces changed. But then, a row of black lines appeared on their foreheads. The black demon locusts did not have eyes at all. They only relied on smell to track their prey. How could they peep at them bathing? Moreover, they were just insects. Even if they peeped, it was nothing. Was there a need to make such a fuss? This pair of sisters really knew how to talk nonsense. But in their eyes, it was full of doting. The leading man frowned and said, "Xuening, Xuerua, didn't I just tell you to check if there's any danger in the pool? Why did you only notice them now?" "We looked, but we didn't go to the bottom of the pool to check. We wanted to wait until we were clean before going down. But we didn't expect them to suddenly rush up," the two women said innocently. Hearing that, everyone was helpless. The leading man said, "You guys, I don't know what to say. You guys are really careless. Yeah, if anything happens to you, how are we going to explain it to your parents?" A young man next to him said helplessly. Okay, we know we're wrong. Can you guys go and kill them?" The two blinked their charming eyes and looked at them pleadingly. The young men looked at each other. They all looked like they had a headache. The leading young man said, "Xuening, Xuerua, these things are not to be trifled with. Since you've already washed up, why don't you leave this place quickly? Senior brother Fenghua is right. We shouldn't stay here for long. And look, there's a large area of damage near the pool. It means that there was a battle here not long ago. I think it's the people from the other 8 provinces. Although we're not afraid of them, it's not good for us to fight with them too early. Ladies, don't be stubborn. Let's go." The rest of the people also persuaded them. "Okay. We'll listen to you." The sisters hesitated for a while, but finally nodded in agreement. "Let's go." The leading young man waved his hand. The dozen of people immediately protected the sisters and rushed into the forest. But the black demon locusts chased after them. And more black demon locusts rushed out of the pool. Obviously, they thought that group of people were Qin Feiyang's accomplices. Dong! Just as the group of people entered the forest, a figure rushed out of the pool and landed on the shore. It was Qin Feiyang. The nether demonic flame in his hand was fully awakened. The area within a few hundred meters was suddenly turned into a burning furnace. What's going on? Seeing the black demon locusts rush into the forest, Qin Feiyang was a little stunned. When he looked over and saw the group of people in the forest, his eyes suddenly focused. This group of people's aura was very strong. Based on his initial judgment, half of them should be battle masters. There's someone? At the same time, the dozen of people who entered the forest all turned their heads to look at the pool. When they saw Qin Feiyang, they were also surprised. Where did he come from? No. He's covered in water. He should have come out of the pool. That means that when we were bathing, he was hiding under the water. He's a pervert. Chapter 579. Pervert? Qin Feiyang faintly heard the voices of the two girls, and could not help but feel puzzled. Whoosh! He did not have time to think. Because when the black demon locusts saw him appear from the pool, they all turned around and rushed towards him. So troublesome. Qin Feiyang was quite annoyed. He turned around and used the phantom steps, and rushed into the forest without looking back. The direction he went was the direction Dong Zhengyang escaped. He must be peeping at us bathing. You guys go and stop him. I'm going to dig out his eyeballs. Seeing Qin Feiyang leave, the sisters hurriedly shouted to the dozen young men beside them. Xuening, Xuerua, don't worry. The leading young man comforted them, and looked at the others. Did you see the words on his chest? Everyone shook their heads. The distance was a little far, and coupled with the blood mist in the air, it was really difficult to see the words on his chest. Similarly, Qin Feiyang also did not see the words on their chests. The leading young man raised his head and looked at the black demon locusts swarming towards Qin Feiyang. His eyes flashed, and said, I think this person is not peeping at Xuening and Xuerua bathing. Someone asked, then what is he doing in the pool? The leading young man said, I think he is looking for some treasure, and has already gotten it. Why do you think so? Someone next to him questioned. Did you see those black demon locusts? At first, they chased us crazily, but when this person appeared, they immediately gave up on us and chased after him. Think about it, what does this mean? The leading young man said. Everyone's eyes immediately lit up. If there was really a treasure, it must not be an ordinary treasure. Otherwise, the black demon locusts would not be so crazy. But we can't rule out the possibility that he is peeping at Xuening and Xuerua bathing. Let's chase after him, but remember, we can't be impulsive. Ask him first. The leading young man reminded. Everyone nodded. Let's go. So, under the lead of the young man called Fenghua, the group of more than a dozen people hid their aura, avoided the black demon locusts, and rushed through the forest, trying to intercept Qin Feiyang. In the meantime, as Qin Feiyang sped along, he carefully observed his surroundings. With Dong Zhengyang's intelligence, he would definitely have left behind some clues during his escape so that it would be easier for him to find them. True enough. Soon, Qin Feiyang found an arrowhead symbol on one of the tree trunks. The arrow pointed to the northwest. He waved his hand and released a stream of battle qi to destroy the arrowhead symbol. Then, he rushed towards the northwest. The black demon locusts at the back were like a swarm of locusts. Wherever they passed, the grass and trees were blown away, leaving behind a mess. However, although they were terrifying, their speed was much slower than Qin Feiyang's, so the distance between them was getting further and further. He changed his direction. Should we continue chasing him? In the meantime, Fire Beacon's group stopped on a small hill and looked at Qin Feiyang from afar. Of course. He's alone. What's there to be afraid of? Also, we don't have to be so secretive. The pair of sisters said in dissatisfaction. The young man called Fire Beacon lowered his head and muttered to himself for a while, then nodded. Xuening and Xuerua are right, I am the one who worries too much, there is indeed no need to hide. Next. Fire Beacon looked at Qin Feiyang and shouted, Friend, please wait. Then, the group of people chased after Qin Feiyang. Qin Feiyang, who was searching for the mark, stopped and turned to look at the group of people, his eyebrows slightly raised. From his tone, he didn't seem to have any ill intentions. But in this place, it was obvious that he couldn't just look at the surface. Moreover, this group of people's cultivation was stronger than his, so he had to be on guard. He turned around and scanned the front. In front of him was still a dense forest. However, not far ahead, there was a small valley. Whiz! He activated phantom steps and rushed towards the small valley. After a dozen breaths of time, Qin Feiyang arrived at the entrance of the small valley, but Fire Beacon and the others were not far from the small valley. Because their speed was much faster than Qin Feiyang's by a large margin. As for those black demon locusts, they had already completely shaken them off. Qin Feiyang turned his head and glanced at those people. A light flashed in his eyes, and he entered the valley without hesitation. The valley was not big, and weeds were growing everywhere. Qin Feiyang hurriedly looked around, and on the left side of the mountain, he found a dark cave. Judging from its ancient appearance, the cave had existed for a very long time. However, the valley was halfway up the mountain, and it was impossible to fly now. It was obviously too late to climb up, because the footsteps had already arrived at the entrance of the valley. Shua! Qin Feiyang flashed and entered the castle. The moment he entered the castle, Fire Beacon and the others strode into the valley. They stood in the grass and scanned their surroundings. One of them lowered his head to look at the ground and discovered a row of footprints. These should be his footprints. Then why don't we see him? Could it be that he's hiding in the cave above? The pair of sisters looked at the cave halfway up the mountain, their eyes filled with doubt. It shouldn't be. If he really went to the cave, in such a hurry, he would definitely leave behind traces of climbing. But from what I can see, there's nothing. Unless he can fly. Fire Beacon said. Fly? Everyone shook their heads. In this place, flying was simply an extravagant hope. Fire Beacon looked at the cave with a trace of doubt in his eyes. Why was there a cave here? Could it be left behind by a senior who had participated in the Great War of the Nine States? Thinking of this, he looked at a young man beside him and said, "Feng Wuxia, go inside the cave and take a look. Be careful." Okay. Feng Wuxia nodded and walked to the bottom of the cave. Like an ape, he quickly climbed to the entrance of the cave. Be careful. Fire Beacon warned again. Don't worry. Feng Wuxia grinned, revealing a mouthful of white teeth. This person was like his name, a very evil young man. He was about 185 meters tall, and his face was as sharp as a knife. He could be called a handsome man. His eyes were especially beautiful, like two black gems, and they were unruly. Feng Wuxia smiled at Fire Beacon and the others, then turned around and strode into the cave. Boom! But in less than 5 breaths, a loud sound came from the cave. The entire valley shook violently. What's going on? Everyone in the valley was shocked. Fire Beacon said, "Don't panic. Feng Wuxia's strength is unfathomable. Even I am not confident that I can defeat him. Even if he encounters any danger, he can escape unscathed." Indeed. Before he finished speaking, Feng Wuxia exited the cave and landed steadily beside Fire Beacon. Fire Beacon asked, "What's inside?" "A person." Feng Wuxia looked at the cave with an evil smile and said, "Sir, is it necessary to continue hiding?" Tap. Tap. Along with a series of steady footsteps, a young man walked out of the cave and stood at the entrance. He looked down at Feng Wuxia and the others. This person was about 1.8 meters tall and was quite muscular. His thick black hair reached his shoulders, and his eyes were like stars. He gave off a wild aura. Fire Beacon sized up this person. When he saw the words on the person's chest, his pupils shrank. He cupped his hands and smiled, "So it's a friend from the spiritual state." Spiritual state? Inside the castle. Qin Feiyang raised his eyebrows. Who was hiding in the cave? At the same time, the person standing in the cave also looked at the chest of Fire Beacon and the others and frowned. "You are from the Kong state?" This voice, it's Dong Zhengyang. Qin Feiyang was stunned. He didn't expect Dong Zhengyang to be hiding in the cave. What a coincidence. Facing Dong Zhengyang's question, Fire Beacon nodded and smiled, that's right. May I know your name? Dong Zhengyang said lightly, we just met by chance. Is there a need to know my name? Fire Beacon was speechless. Yes, there is no need to know your name. But you sneak attacked me, so I must return the favor. Come down and fight with me. Feng Wuxia chuckled with an evil aura. Not interested. Dong Zhengyang glanced at him lightly and turned to walk into the cave. That's not up to you. Feng Wuxia pointed in the air, and a fiery red battle chi appeared and blasted toward the cave like a tide. What? You want to bully me with your numbers? Dong Zhengyang suddenly turned around. His gaze was as sharp as a blade, extremely sharp. Feng Wuxia smiled. Don't worry, I don't need their help to deal with you. I alone am enough. Arrogant. Dong Zhengyang harumphed coldly and waved his hand. His battle chi surged out and collided with Feng Wuxia's battle chi. Boom! In the valley, the wind howled and the ground trembled. The mountains around the valley began to collapse. Not bad. Feng Wuxia smiled sinisterly. However, Dong Zhengyang did not continue to entangle with him. When he saw the mountains collapsing, he immediately turned and rushed into the cave. Not long after. Inside the cave, another deafening sound rang out. The entire mountain collapsed instantly and turned into ruins with dust filling the sky. Swoosh! All of a sudden, a stream of light shot out from the dust. It was Dong Zhengyang. However, at this moment, he rushed out of the dust with one person in each hand and fled into the forest. No wonder you don't dare to fight with me. It turns out that you have severely injured and unconscious companions. However, shouldn't you ask for my opinion before leaving? Feng Wuxia chuckled and chased after Dong Zhengyang. His speed was not slower than Dong Zhengyang's. Feng Hua and the others followed behind Feng Wuxia. Severely injured companions? Inside the ancient castle, Qin Feiyang's heart skipped a beat. It had been so long, but Shenlong and Feng Wuxia had not woken up. It seemed that their injuries were more serious than he had imagined. He could not continue to hide, or the three of them would be in grave danger. Swoosh! He left the ancient castle without hesitation. Looking at the ruins in front of him, he raised his eyebrows. Then, he looked up and saw the group of people from the Kong state. However, Dong Zhengyang had already disappeared into the forest. Who was talking just now? Do we need your opinion on whether the people of the spiritual state stay or leave? Who do you think you are? He said calmly, but his eyes were cold. Huh? Feng Hua and the others immediately stopped and turned to look at Qin Feiyang. It's him. At the same time Chapter 580. At the same time. Feng Wuxia turned around and walked to Feng Hua. He looked at Qin Feiyang from afar and teased, I was the one who spoke just now. Are you not convinced? So arrogant? Qin Feiyang was stunned and laughed, you guys are so strong. How could I not be convinced? Is that so? Feng Wuxia's lips curled up and said playfully, but why do I feel like you're provoking me? Qin Feiyang smiled faintly, if you think I'm provoking you, then I'm provoking you. Feng Wuxia was stunned. Feng Hua and the others were also shocked. Judging from his aura, he was only an 8-star combat emperor. How could he be so confident? At this moment, Dong Zhengyang walked around and came to Qin Feiyang's side. Seeing this, Feng Wuxia suddenly realized and said, so you're just stalling for time. That's right. Qin Feiyang nodded and smiled, obviously, I've achieved my goal. Feng Wuxia smiled disapprovingly and said, do you think you can escape from so many of us? Don't be too confident. Now, I'll teach you a lesson. No matter how strong you are, there will always be someone stronger. I'll play with you guys when I'm free. Qin Feiyang smiled mockingly and disappeared with Dong Zhengyang and the other two. Feng Wuxia raised his eyebrows and immediately looked around. However, there was no one in sight. It was as if they had disappeared into thin air. Feng Hua said, "It seems like we've underestimated him." Feng Wuxia's eyes turned cold, but then he smiled evilly. "It's okay. We'll meet him sooner or later. We'll settle the score then. Then we'll forget about him peeping on us bathing." Feng Hua, Feng Wuxia, you guys are too unreliable. If I knew, I wouldn't have let you guys come. The sisters snorted. The two of them were stunned and looked at each other helplessly. Inside the ancient castle, Dong Zhengyang placed Shenlong and his wife flat on the ground. He got up and looked at Qin Feiyang strangely. "You still have the time to peek at others bathing?" Qin Feiyang's face twitched. He shook his head and said, "No such thing." "No?" Dong Zhengyang stared blankly for a moment, then said with disdain, "You dare to do it but you don't dare to admit it. This is not the Qin Feiyang I know." "I really didn't." Qin Feiyang smiled bitterly. Dong Zhengyang was puzzled. If that's the case, why would those two women say that? "I think it might be because of that. At that time, when I was at the bottom of the lake, trying to find a way to pluck that strange flower, I sensed that someone was bathing on it. At first, I didn't know who it was, so I didn't pay much attention to it. Now that I think about it, the people who were bathing might be those two women. Then, when they saw me coming out of the pool, they probably thought that I was a peeping Tom." Qin Feiyang guessed. Dong Zhengyang said suspiciously, "So, you really didn't peep? Forget it if you don't believe me." Qin Feiyang was too lazy to explain. He glanced at Shenlong and Dong Zhengyang and asked, "How are they?" "Not good. Although they're not dead, their sea of qi is broken. Unless there's a divine elixir, there's no way to save them." Dong Zhengyang sighed. "So it's because their sea of qi is broken." Qin Feiyang muttered and breathed a sigh of relief. But seeing his attitude, Dong Zhengyang suddenly became angry and said, "What do you mean?" "I have a way to save them." Qin Feiyang smiled, walked to the altar, and opened a jade box. A majestic life force suddenly surged out. "What kind of elixir fire is this?" Dong Zhengyang was surprised. Inside the jade box lay a cluster of green flames, which was the fire of life. The form of the fire of life was very similar to that of elixir fire, so Dong Zhengyang mistook it for elixir fire. Qin Feiyang did not explain. He took out the fire of life and placed it above Shenlong and Dong Zhengyang. The vigorous life force immediately surrounded the two and seeped into their bodies through their pores, surging into their sea of qi. Qin Feiyang also sank his consciousness into their sea of qi. He found that the damage to their sea of qi was not very serious. There was only a small crack, which he believed would be repaired soon. "What kind of treasure is this?" Dong Zhengyang was also observing their sea of qi. When he saw that the life force could really repair the crack in their sea of qi, he was shocked. Qin Feiyang withdrew his consciousness and said, "Let them rest here. We'll go find the others." "Okay." Dong Zhengyang nodded. Qin Feiyang listened carefully for a moment. When he did not hear anything outside, he brought Dong Zhengyang outside. Feng Wuxia and the others had already disappeared. Dong Zhengyang glanced around and frowned. "This 9 nether yellow springs is boundless. Where are we going to find them?" Qin Feiyang said. Ren Wuxuang said that he would leave a mark on the way, so we have to go back to the pool and start from the beginning. "Then let's go." The two turned and rushed towards the pool. Dong Zhengyang said, "By the way, how did you get rid of Mo Wuxian and the others? It's quite funny. Qin Feiyang gave a detailed account of the situation back then. After Dong Zhengyang heard this, he could not help but laugh. This Yen Tianfeng was really silly to the point of being cute. Boom! Crack! But at this moment, a loud sound came from the forest in the distance. What's going on? Dong Zhengyang stopped laughing and looked up, his eyes full of surprise. Qin Feiyang said in a deep voice, "Let's go and take a look." Whoosh! The two immediately turned around and rushed towards the place where the loud sound came from. Very soon, the two sensed a strong battle fluctuation. Obviously, someone was fighting over there. As they got closer, the battle fluctuation became more obvious. Suddenly, Dong Zhengyang frowned and said, "Don't you feel that this aura is a little familiar?" Qin Feiyang carefully sensed for a while, and a light flashed in his eyes as he sneered, "It's them." "That's right, it's them." Dong Zhengyang also nodded, his face full of coldness. More than 10 breaths later, the two of them climbed up a short mountain that was several hundred feet high. They stood in the thick grass and looked ahead. More than 200 meters in front of them, at this moment, the mountains were collapsing, and the grass and trees were flying everywhere. Waves of intense battle ripples transformed into formless waves that swept out in all directions. There were a total of 3 people fighting. And they were all people that Qin Feiyang and Dong Zhengyang knew. One of them was Feng Wuxia that they had met before. The other 2 were even more familiar, they were Dongfang Wuhan and Murong Xiong. How did they meet? Dong Zhengyang frowned. Qin Feiyang remained silent, his gaze firmly locked onto Feng Wuxia. Although Dongfang Wuhan and Murong Xiong's character was not good, their strength was not to be underestimated. However, at this moment Feng Wuxia was actually fighting 1 against 2, and was not at a disadvantage. He turned his gaze and looked at the other side of the battlefield. The sisters and the others all stood there watching, without the slightest intention of going up to help. Qin Feiyang could see that these people did not help, not because they were cold, nor because they wanted Feng Wuxia to die, but because they were completely confident in Feng Wuxia. Dong Zhengyang also looked at Feng Hua and the others, and said in a low voice, "The Kong region's strength is very terrifying." Indeed. Qin Feiyang nodded and asked, "Can you see through all of their cultivations?" "No." Dong Zhengyang shook his head. "What?" Qin Feiyang was shocked. Even Dong Zhengyang, who was a 1-star battle sect, could not see through them. Could it be that the Kong region had a 2-star battle sect? According to my observation, they have a total of 6 1-star battle sect and 10 9-star battle emperors. The person fighting with Dongfang Wuhan and Murong Xiong is a 1-star battle sect. Dong Zhengyang said. Qin Feiyang's mind trembled. This lineup was enough to instantly kill their spirit state. He asked again, "Then whose cultivation can you not see through?" Dong Zhengyang's gaze turned and locked onto the twin sisters, and said, "It's them." Them? Qin Feiyang was stunned. If it was the young man in the lead, he would believe it. But these twin sisters, no matter how he looked at them, they didn't look like experts. "Are you sure you're not mistaken?" Qin Feiyang frowned. "I'm sure." Dong Zhengyang nodded. Qin Feiyang's gaze focused, it seemed that he had to pay more attention to these twin sisters in the future. Boom! At this time, Dongfang Wuhan and Murong Xiong had a huge collision with Feng Wuxia. At the same time, they spat out a mouthful of blood and their faces were somewhat pale. Dongfang Wuhan retreated a few steps, stared at Feng Wuxia gloomily, and said, "How did we offend you?" Feng Wuxia wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth and said with an evil smile, "You didn't offend me. Since you didn't, then why did you fight the moment you met?" Dongfang Wuhan was furious. "You didn't offend me, but someone in your spirit state did. Do you know these 2 people?" Feng Wuxia waved his hand, and battle chi surged out, condensing into two shadows in the air. Seeing the two shadows, Qin Feiyang and Dong Zhengyang, who were standing on the short mountain, immediately frowned. Because this was their illusory image. Dongfang Wuhan and Murong Xiong couldn't help but frown when they saw their shadows. Dongfang Wuhan looked at Feng Wuxia and nodded, "We know them. One of them is called Qin Feiyang, and the other is called Dong Zhengyang. Which one is Qin Feiyang?" As soon as they heard the three words Qin Feiyang, the sisters became spirited. The eyes of the others also changed at this moment. Dongfang Wuhan looked at the expressions of these people and asked suspiciously, "Do you know Qin Feiyang?" "No, but we have all heard of his rumors. It is said that he is not only an alchemy genius, but also a cultivation monster. The Lord even told us that when we came to the Nine Nether Underworld, the first person to pay attention to is him. So, we all want to meet him." Feng Hua laughed. Dong Zhengyang shook his head and said, "I didn't expect your name to have already spread to the Kong state. It's really amazing." Qin Feiyang smiled bitterly. He also didn't expect that his name would spread so far. Not only did the Cloud state know, but even the Kong state knew. Did the other major states also know? However, when Dongfang Wuhan and Murong Xiong heard Feng Hua's words, they couldn't help but feel jealousy and hatred in their hearts. On what basis? They were the kings of the spirit state's inner palace, and the ones who should be paid attention to should be them. But now, no one knew their names, but they all knew the name of Qin Feiyang. They felt extremely unbalanced in their hearts. Chapter 581. I'm asking you, which one of you is Qin Feiyang? The twin sisters looked at Dongfang Wuhan and Murong Xiong without worry. The two of them were already very unbalanced in their hearts. At this moment, when they saw the slight contempt in the twin sisters' eyes, they immediately burned with anger. Dongfang Wuhan pointed at Qin Feiyang's shadow and said coldly, "He is Qin Feiyang. So it's this pervert. This is outrageous. Don't let this young lady catch you, or I'll teach you a lesson." The twin sisters glared at him and said fiercely, "Pervert?" Dongfang Wuhan and Murong Xiong looked at each other with a trace of suspicion in their eyes. What was going on? Didn't Qin Feiyang never have any interest in women? How could he suddenly become a pervert? However, this was a good thing. Dongfang Wuhan frowned and said, "Since they offended you, you should go and settle the score with them. Why are you looking for us? Who told you to be their accomplices? Now, I'll give you a chance to live. Take us to them immediately." The twin sisters said. Murong Xiong said in a deep voice, "We don't know where they are." "That's right. As soon as we entered the death swamp, we parted ways. We also want to know." Dongfang Wuhan said. "You don't know? Then aren't you useless? Feng Wuxia, do as you see fit." The twin sisters smiled. "Leave it to me." Feng Wuxia smiled evilly and walked towards the two step by step. "Do you think I'm really afraid of you?" Murong Xiong could no longer bear it, but just as he was about to kill Feng Wuxia, Dongfang Wuhan stopped him. "What? You still want to endure it?" Murong Xiong said angrily. "Don't be impatient." Dongfang Wuhan secretly transmitted his voice, then looked at Feng Wuxia and the others and said with a smile, "Actually, we can cooperate." Everyone was stunned. Dongfang Wuhan said, "To tell you the truth, we also have a deep grudge with Qin Feiyang." Feng Wuxia said, "Tell me about it." "Originally, the mansion master appointed me as the captain in this 9 regions war, but he instigated the others to repeatedly go against me. Furthermore, he has the face of a vile character. On the way to the death swamp, he tried his best to please the granddaughter of the manor lord. The manor head's granddaughter is rather naive, so she is easily bewitched by him. She often helps him reprimand us. This is the main reason why we parted ways. There's one more thing. He is very arrogant. He is only an 8-star combat emperor, but he always acts as if he is the most important person in the world. Even when the Great War of the 9 States began, he publicly declared that the people from the other states would be his stepping stones to enter the imperial capital. Dongfang Wuhan said. Hearing this, Feng Wuxia and the others frowned. Seeing this, Dongfang Wuhan struck while the iron was hot and said with a smile, as the saying goes, the enemy of my enemy is my friend. We can definitely join hands to deal with him. Feng Wuxia looked at Feng Hua. Feng Hua frowned and lowered his head to ponder. This is too much. I've never seen such a despicable and shameless person. On top of the short mountain, Dong Zhengyang clenched his fists as he stared at Dongfang Wuhan. His eyes were burning with rage. On the other hand, Qin Feiyang's expression was unexpectedly calm, as if he didn't take it to heart at all. Seeing this, Dong Zhengyang frowned and said, You're not angry at all? Qin Feiyang laughed and said, It's not worth getting angry over such a person. You're really open-minded. Dong Zhengyang shook his head. But in his heart, he was more and more fearful of Qin Feiyang. Because in the face of such a thing, if it was anyone else, it would be impossible for them to remain calm. But Qin Feiyang acted as if he didn't hear it at all. Such a terrifying temperament was unique in the world. This was. Feng Hua finally raised his head, looked at Dongfang Wuhan and nodded, All right, we'll cooperate, but I have a condition. Dongfang Wuhan and Murong Xiong looked at each other and smiled. Then, Dongfang Wuhan looked at Feng Hua and laughed, There's no harm in saying it. Feng Hua retreated to the side, pointed at the sisters, and said, During our cooperation, you must unconditionally listen to their orders. Them? The two of them looked at the sisters, their eyes filled with bewilderment. Feng Hua said, If you can't do it, then there's no need for us to cooperate. Wait. We are, after all, the kings of the spiritual state's inner palace. Don't you think it's too much for us to listen to the orders of 2 women? Murong Xiong said angrily. You are still the kings of the spiritual state's inner palace? Feng Wuxia was surprised. That's right. Murong Xiong smiled proudly. Feng Wuxia raised the corner of his mouth again and said with an evil smile, Is the king amazing? Murong Xiong was stunned, his gaze suddenly darkened, and said, What do you mean? Nothing. I just want to say, it's just a war master, what's there to be proud of? You have to be clear, it's you who are shamelessly asking to cooperate with us, not us asking you to cooperate. Feng Wuxia laughed. TSK TSK TSK. What a slap in the face. Qin Feiyang, believe it or not, Dongfang Wuhan and Murong Xiong will definitely cooperate with the people of the Kong state. Dong Zhengyang laughed gloatingly. I don't think so, people with a little bit of dignity will choose to leave immediately. Qin Feiyang said. Dong Zhengyang said, Then how about we make a bet? Qin Feiyang was stunned and asked, What bet? Dong Zhengyang said, If I lose, I won't take revenge on you in the future, but if you lose, you have to agree to one of my requests. Okay. Qin Feiyang nodded without hesitation. Although Dongfang Wuhan and Murong Xiong were a bit despicable, as the kings of the spiritual state's inner palace, he didn't believe that they would be so spineless. At this moment, Dongfang Wuhan and Murong Xiong's faces were extremely gloomy. However, in the end, Dongfang Wuhan smiled and said, Okay, as you wish, we will listen unconditionally. That's right. Feng Wuxia chuckled. Qin Feiyang, on the other hand, was dumbfounded. At the same time, Murong Xiong also raised his eyebrows and shouted, Dongfang Wuhan, are you crazy? Don't talk so much, I have my own plans. Dongfang Wuhan secretly said and stretched out his hand to Feng Wuxia, smiling, happy cooperation. But Feng Wuxia's face was full of disdain, and he had no intention of shaking hands with him. Dongfang Wuhan resentfully retracted his arm and asked, "Do you have any plans?" "Yes. Go find Qin Feiyang now and trick him to come here," Feng Wuxia said. Dongfang Wuhan frowned, "But we really don't know where they are now. The image crystal can't send messages, and the death swamp is so big, finding them is harder than ascending to the sky." Feng Wuxia said, "Whether you can find them or not is your business. Anyway, I will only give you 3 days." "Okay, we will try our best." Dongfang Wuhan nodded and turned to look at Murong Xiong. "Let's go." Murong Xiong frowned and followed behind Dongfang Wuhan, quickly disappearing into the forest. Dong Zhengyang retracted his gaze and said proudly, "Qin Feiyang, what do you think?" Sigh. Qin Feiyang sighed deeply and said helplessly, "Say it, what is your request?" "I haven't thought about it yet. I will owe you." "Of course, you can rest assured that I will not ask you to commit suicide or do anything to harm your friends," Dong Zhengyang said. Qin Feiyang smiled, "I have my principles, even if you ask me, I will not do it." Dong Zhengyang smiled and asked, "What are your plans next?" Qin Feiyang pondered for a moment and said, "Although Dongfang Wuhan chose to continue cooperating with them, I feel that he is planning something, so we might as well leave some clues and let them find us." Dong Zhengyang frowned, "Isn't this too risky?" Qin Feiyang laughed, "Don't worry, I have a way to deal with the people of Kong province." "All right, we'll do as you say." Dong Zhengyang nodded. Although he didn't know what method Qin Feiyang would use, with Qin Feiyang's usual character, since he dared to make such a boast, he must be confident. Subsequently, the two of them quietly retreated and rushed towards the pool. Soon, they came to the forest near the pool. After searching for a moment, the two of them found a word on a stone. Qin. There was also an arrow symbol next to it, pointing to the south. Dong Zhengyang asked, "Could this be the symbol left behind by Ren Wuxuang?" "It's very possible." Qin Feiyang nodded. "Then let's go," Dong Zhengyang said. "Wait a minute." Qin Feiyang took out the Chang Shui and engraved the 2 words Feiyang below Qin, which added up to his complete name. Seeing this, Dong Zhengyang frowned. "What are you doing?" Qin Feiyang laughed, "If I don't do this, can Dongfang Wuhan and Murong Xiong find us?" Dong Zhengyang felt helpless. It seemed that this guy was determined to fight with Dongfang Wuhan and Murong Xiong to the end. Whoosh! Then, the two of them rushed in the direction indicated by the arrow. Not long after, they found the same symbol on the trunk of a big tree. The two of them were basically sure that this was left behind by Ren Wuxuang. Half an hour later, they followed the mark and came to a mountain ridge. There was also a mark on the stone next to it, pointing to the top of the mountain ridge. When Qin Feiyang engraved the 2 words Feiyang next to the mark, he and Dong Zhengyang climbed up. But when they climbed halfway up the mountain, the two of them looked at each other with a trace of surprise in their eyes. They smelled a faint smell of blood in the air. It was enough to show that there was a massacre nearby. Whoosh! The two of them rushed up the mountain ridge, stood at a commanding height, and looked down. Immediately, the two of them suddenly changed color. Below, there was a lake of about 1,000 feet, and there were obvious traces of battle around it. And on the grass on the left side of the lake, a group of people gathered. There were men and women in this group, and they all looked young with outstanding temperament. Moreover, the aura they exuded was also very strong. But this was not the point. The point was that there were more than 20 people not far from this group of people. They sat back to back, their clothes were ragged, their bodies were stained with blood, and their eyes were filled with despair and helplessness. These people were all familiar faces: Qin Feiyang and Dong Zhengyang. There was Ren Wuxuang, Lu Xingchen, Shen Mei, Wu Yan, Su Yang, and so on. And there were many corpses lying nearby. Obviously, Ren Wuxuang and the others were in trouble. How could this be? Dong Zhengyang looked at this scene, his eyes full of disbelief. Crack! Suddenly, a crisp sound entered his ears. Dong Zhengyang turned to look and was shocked. At this moment, Qin Feiyang clenched his fists, his eyes were red, and his body was surrounded by a murderous aura. Dong Zhengyang hurriedly reached out and grabbed Qin Feiyang's shoulder, saying, "I know that seeing Ren Wuxuang injured makes you feel very sad, but you must calm down now." They knew nothing about the other party's background and identity. If they rushed down rashly, not only would they not be able to save everyone, but they would also die. "Don't worry, I haven't lost my mind. But these people will all die today. You stay here and monitor them. I'll go to the castle. Let me know if anything happens. I can hear your voice." After Qin Feiyang finished speaking, he instantly disappeared without a trace. Hearing Qin Feiyang's words, Dong Zhengyang's heart trembled, and he became more and more surprised. What was the relationship between this person and Ren Wuxuang? Inside the castle. "Boss, what happened? Did someone hurt Ren Wuxuang?" As soon as Qin Feiyang appeared, Fatso and Wolf King surrounded him, their eyes flashing with cold light. Ren Wuxuang was not only important to Qin Feiyang, but also to them. Because along the way, Ren Wuxuang had helped them too much. In their eyes, Ren Wuxuang was their sister. "Prepare for battle." Qin Feiyang did not say much, only said these 4 words, and then sank his mind into Shenlong and Jiang Wei's Qi Si. There was still a little crack in their Qi Si that had not been repaired. He believed that they would wake up soon. Fatso was puzzled. "Why are you looking at them?" Qin Feiyang said, "Our strength alone is not enough, we need to nurture a few more war masters." "So you plan to nurture them?" Fatso frowned. Qin Feiyang nodded, "That's right, their character is hundreds of times better than Dongfang Wuhan's. They are completely worth nurturing." Fatso and Wolf King looked at each other with a trace of schadenfreude in their eyes. Those people were really blind. They actually dared to bully Ren Wuxuang. Wasn't this courting death? Although no one in their small team had broken through to the War Master realm, as long as Qin Feiyang was willing, he could nurture a large number of them at any time. Time passed breath by breath. Qin Feiyang also refined 3 9-chew yellow dragon pills. Fatso and Wolf King were a little puzzled. Who was the extra one prepared for? But they didn't ask. They believed in Qin Feiyang's judgment. At the same time, 2 figures were lurking in the forest below the mountain ridge. It was Dongfang Wuhan and Murong Xiong. They had followed the mark left behind by Qin Feiyang to this place. Murong Xiong swept his gaze across the mountain ridge and suddenly locked onto a stone, saying, "Look, there's also a mark there. They should have gone up. Let's go." With a wave of Dongfang Wuhan's hand, the 2 of them quietly ran up. "There's the smell of blood. Could it be that they encountered some strong enemy?" Halfway up the mountain, the 2 of them also smelled the smell of blood and couldn't help but be surprised. When they reached a certain vantage point at the top of the mountain, the 2 of them looked down and their pupils immediately shrank. The vantage point they were at was adjacent to the vantage point Dong Zhengyang was at, but due to the lush vegetation and the fact that they were all hiding their auras, they didn't discover each other. Murong Xiong whispered, "Who are they? They actually imprisoned Ren Wuxuang and the others." "How would I know?" Dongfang Wuhan muttered, then turned his gaze and scanned the forest around the lake. Murong Xiong was puzzled. "What are you looking at?" "I'm looking for Dong Zhengyang and Qin Feiyang," Dongfang Wuhan said. Murong Xiong said, "I don't think they've arrived yet. Otherwise, seeing Ren Wuxuang and the others trapped, they would have already started fighting." "That makes sense. Dongfang Wuhan nodded. After pondering for a moment, he said in a deep voice, Qin Feiyang will appear sooner or later. You immediately inform the people of Kong province to gather here. Are you really going to help them? Do you know that if you do this, when we leave the 9 nether yellow springs and return to the inner hall, the mansion master will definitely not let us go? Murong Xiong frowned. Don't worry, I know what to do. Dongfang Wuhan's eyes flashed. Murong Xiong looked at him deeply and nodded. Okay, I'll believe you this time. Chapter 582. After Murong Xiong left, Dongfang Wuhan looked down at Ren Wushuang and the others, his eyes flashing with an inexplicable light. Half an hour passed quickly. Shenlong and Jiang Wei finally woke up. The moment they opened their eyes, both of them looked confused. Qin Feiyang smiled, you're finally awake. The two looked at Qin Feiyang and couldn't help but be stunned. Qin Feiyang walked up, grabbed the fire of life, and put it into the jade box on the altar. He turned to look at the two and said, you are now in my castle, and I am the one who saved you. This is the castle? The two got up and looked around in surprise. Qin Feiyang said, there's no time to talk nonsense now, because Ren Wushuang and the others are imprisoned. We have to save them. Who imprisoned them? The two's faces changed. I don't know yet. Qin Feiyang shook his head and said, but according to my observation, excluding us, there are only 20 people left in our spiritual state. What? The two of them looked miserable. There were 550 people, and only 20 people were left. How were they going to go on? Suddenly, Shenlong quivered and hurriedly asked, where's Shenmei? Is she still alive? She's still alive. Qin Feiyang nodded. That's good. Shenlong breathed a sigh of relief. Qin Feiyang was suspicious. What was going on? Shenlong sighed, to tell you the truth, Shenmei is my cousin. Cousin? Qin Feiyang was stunned. There was such a thing? Actually, my relationship with her has never been good. Because since we were young, Grandpa has always spoiled her and listened to her in everything. But to me, he rarely said a word of concern and always had a very strict attitude, so I was very jealous of her. Even last time, when I learned that she was bullied by Lu Xingchen, I felt happy in my heart. But after this life and death tribulation, I've thought it through. Humans should live happily. After all, no one knows how long you can live. Shenlong sighed. I see. Qin Feiyang suddenly understood. You're a man, yet you're jealous of your younger sister. Aren't you embarrassed? Wolf King interjected from the side, his eyes full of disdain. Shenlong felt bitter in his heart. He nodded and said, you are right. The past me was indeed not like a man. Don't listen to its nonsense. I've seen old Master Shen before. He's an upright person who can distinguish between kindness and hatred. I believe he won't side with anyone. It's because we men and women are naturally incomparable. Men need to be sharpened from a young age. There's a saying that goes, if a jade isn't cut, it won't amount to anything. As for women, they are born to be loved. Qin Feiyang smiled. If a jade isn't cut, it won't amount to anything. Shenlong thought about this sentence, and suddenly his gaze trembled. He cupped his hands and said, Brother Qin's words have enlightened me. I was really too ignorant in the past. I hope Brother Qin can help save my cousin. Qin Feiyang said, you'll have to save her yourself. I'll go? Shenlong was slightly startled, and frowned. Can I do it with my little strength? Sure. Qin Feiyang took out 2 9-chew yellow dragon pills from his bosom and handed them to Shenlong and Jiang Wei, saying, I specially prepared these for you. What pill? The two of them looked at each other, their eyes filled with bewilderment. Qin Feiyang said, The reason why Dong Zhengyang was able to step into the War Master so quickly is because of this pill. The two of them trembled, and their eyes lit up. Shenlong asked, "Why are you giving it to us?" Jiang Wei also had a face full of bewilderment. According to Qin Feiyang's personality, he definitely wouldn't give such a precious pill to others. "If I have to give a reason, it's because you guys risked your lives to protect Ren Wuxuang and the others, to defend the dignity of the spiritual state. It touched me," Qin Feiyang said. "Thank you, Brother Qin." The two of them bowed and thanked him. Next, without hesitation, they each grabbed a 9-chew yellow dragon pill and put it into their mouths. The pill melted as soon as it entered their mouths. A majestic energy flowed to their limbs and bones. They could clearly feel that both their bodies and their minds were undergoing a transformation. Qin Feiyang waved his hand and took out a pile of battle chi pills, saying, "Go into seclusion immediately. It won't be long before you guys break through." "All right." The two of them sat cross-legged beside the pile of battle chi pills and began to meditate. Qin Feiyang looked at Fatso and said, "I'll go out with White-Eyed Wolf to scout out the other party's situation. You have to be prepared for battle at any time." Fatso nodded. Qin Feiyang waved his hand and brought Wolf King to Dong Zhengyang's side. He looked down. The group of people were still gathered on the grass by the lake. Some were washing the dirt off their bodies by the lake. Some were sitting cross-legged to recuperate. Some had set up a bonfire, roasted meat, and were eating heartily. These damn bastards! When Wolf King saw Ren Wuxuang, a cold light flashed in his eyes. "Don't worry. Soon they will pay the price." Qin Feiyang smiled coldly, turned to look at Dong Zhengyang, and asked, "Did you find any other abnormalities?" "As you can see, they are very comfortable." Dong Zhengyang sneered. Qin Feiyang lowered his head to look. Suddenly, he frowned and said, "Have you ever thought about why they imprisoned everyone?" Dong Zhengyang was stunned. He really hadn't thought about this question. How cruel was the War of the 9 States? When the people of the 2 states met, they should kill each other, leaving no one alive. Because everyone was a potential competitor. But now, they only killed a portion of them and imprisoned a portion of them. Why? Qin Feiyang pondered for a moment and said, "I think, either they are full of confidence, or they are waiting for someone to save Ren Wuxuang and the others." "You mean, they used Ren Wuxuang and the others as bait and want to catch all the people of the spiritual state in one fell swoop?" Dong Zhengyang was bewildered. Qin Feiyang said, "We can't rule out this possibility." Crack! Dong Zhengyang clenched his hands tightly, his eyes bursting with killing intent. Qin Feiyang said, "Let's go closer and take a look." Dong Zhengyang nodded. "Wait." The two were about to go down, but Wolf King suddenly spoke. "What?" Qin Feiyang was puzzled. Wolf King looked at Dong Zhengyang and asked, "Are you sure nothing happened before?" Dong Zhengyang said, "I've been guarding here the whole time, nothing happened." It was a little strange. Why did Wolf King ask this? Wolf King pointed to the neighboring mountain and said, "Then why is there the smell of other people over there?" Dong Zhengyang immediately looked over, his eyes full of surprise. Qin Feiyang also scanned the mountain, but the vegetation was too dense and he couldn't see anything at all. He looked at Wolf King and said, "Are you sure?" "Of course." Wolf King rolled his eyes at him in annoyance. Could it be them? Qin Feiyang and Dong Zhengyang looked at each other, immediately restrained their auras, and quietly rushed towards the mountain. Soon, they arrived at the mountain and hid behind a large rock. Looking ahead, they saw Dongfang Wuhan standing in the grass at the edge of the cliff, also looking at the group of people below. "It really is him." Dong Zhengyang's eyes flashed with a cold light. He looked around and sent a sound transmission. "Why don't I see Murong Xiong?" Qin Feiyang said, why don't we go and ask? You still want to see him? Dong Zhengyang was surprised. That's what I plan to do. Qin Feiyang said in a low voice, then walked out from behind the rock and said indifferently, why are you here? Qin Feiyang. Dongfang Wuhan was shocked. When he turned his head and saw Qin Feiyang and Wolf King, his pupils immediately shrank. I asked you a question, didn't you hear me? Two people and one wolf walked to the opposite side of Dongfang Wuhan, looking at him with unkind eyes. Dongfang Wuhan said, I followed your mark and found this place. Qin Feiyang sneered, facing Mo Wuxian and the others, why didn't I see you so capable? Dongfang Wuhan looked at the two people and one wolf and sighed, it seems that you still hate me. I don't want to hate you, but I can't. Dong Zhengyang snorted. Dongfang Wuhan said, I know, at that time, I chickened out and let everyone down. Qin Feiyang waved his hand, sorry to interrupt, we never had any expectations for you. Dongfang Wuhan's expression stiffened, and then with a plop, he knelt in front of Qin Feiyang and the others. What are you doing? Two people and one wolf were bewildered. Dongfang Wuhan said regretfully, I am already very regretful now, I hope you can forgive my foolish behavior at that time. What's the situation? Dong Zhengyang looked at Qin Feiyang and secretly transmitted his voice. Qin Feiyang shook his head. He also couldn't figure out what Dongfang Wuhan was doing. Dongfang Wuhan said again, if you don't forgive me, I will kneel and not get up. Qin Feiyang pointed to Ren Wushuang and the others below, and said in a deep voice, this matter, it's not enough for us to forgive you, it's enough for them to forgive you. I know. So I thought of a way to rescue them. Dongfang Wuhan said. Qin Feiyang frowned and asked, what way? Dongfang Wuhan got up and said, earlier, Murong Xiong and I met people from the Kong province. I heard from them that they also met you. I believe you all know their strength. They are very strong. Qin Feiyang nodded. Dongfang Wuhan said, at that time, they wanted to kill me and Murong Xiong. Due to their strength, I could only compromise and pretend to cooperate with them. Pretend? Qin Feiyang raised his eyebrows and said, are you sure it's just pretending? I swear. Pretending to cooperate with them was just an expedient way to get away. But when I tracked them here and found that Ren Wushuang and the others were imprisoned, I thought of a perfect plan. Dongfang Wuhan said. Tell me about it. Qin Feiyang said. Dongfang Wuhan said, we can use the people from the Kong province to let them fight with the group below, and then we can reap the benefits. How? Qin Feiyang asked. Dongfang Wuhan said, to tell you the truth, the people from the Kong province want to deal with you now. Deal with me? Qin Feiyang pretended to be suspicious. Dongfang Wuhan's face suddenly became strange, and he coughed. I heard them say that you were peeping at the two women bathing in the pool. Cough cough. Qin Feiyang choked on his saliva. Chapter 583. Seeing Qin Feiyang's reaction, Dongfang Wuhan asked cautiously, is there really such a thing? Qin Feiyang said lightly, whether there is or not, it has nothing to do with you. Just tell me your plan. All right. My plan is, I will tell the people of the Kong state that Ren Wushuang and the others are very important to you. Knowing this, I think they will definitely find a way to capture Ren Wushuang and the others as a bargaining chip to lure you out. At that time, there will inevitably be a fierce battle with those people below. Dongfang Wuhan said. The two men and one wolf looked at each other. Needless to say, this idea was really good. On the one hand, it could preserve the strength of their side, and on the other hand, it could weaken the background of the other two states. It could be said to be killing two birds with one stone. Qin Feiyang said, so, you have already asked Murong Xiong to inform the people of the Kong state? Dongfang Wuhan nodded. Well, we will carry out your plan, but don't play tricks, otherwise you will have no way back. Qin Feiyang said. I know. Please rest assured, this time I really want to save everyone. Dongfang Wuhan said solemnly. Qin Feiyang said, okay, let's go down and explore the situation first. When the people of the Kong state come, you directly instigate them to go down. Good. You guys be careful. Dongfang Wuhan nodded. As long as we don't fight, even if we stand in front of them, they can't touch a single hair of mine. Qin Feiyang sneered, and took Dong Zhengyang and Wolf King down. Soon, the two men and one wolf came to the foot of the mountain, using the dense trees as cover, silently sneaked towards the lake. After a while, Wolf King, who was lying on Qin Feiyang's shoulder, suddenly said, Little Qin Zi, with the people of the Kong state taking the lead, is it necessary for us to inquire about the situation? Dong Zhengyang also had a puzzled look. Of course. Firstly, both sides are very strong. Their destructive power must be terrifying. We must ensure the safety of Ren Wuxuang and the others. Secondly, I don't trust Dongfang Wuhan. I have a feeling that this matter isn't that simple. Qin Feiyang whispered. You're saying that Dongfang Wuhan has other plans? Dong Zhengyang frowned. Qin Feiyang shook his head and said, I also don't know. Dongfang Wuhan is more scheming and astute than Murong Xiong. It is very difficult to figure out what he is thinking. Right now, I only hope that I am thinking too much. Wolf King coldly snorted, if he really dares to scheme against us, I promise to send him to hell this time. Dong Zhengyang's eyes also flashed with an astonishing cold light. A moment later, two people and one wolf lurked beside the lake, lying on top of a small hill and looking at the lawn beside the lake. 1. 2. Qin Feiyang silently counted in his heart, and in the end, he couldn't help but frown. There were actually 36 people on the other side, and the word, Yu, was embroidered on their chests. It was obvious that these people were from the Yu province. Wolf King whispered, Dong Zhengyang, what is their cultivation level? Dong Zhengyang carefully observed for a moment, then transmitted his voice, 5-1 Star War Sect, 10-9 Star War Emperor, and 28 Star War Emperor. 5, 10, 20. Wolf King lowered his head and muttered to himself for a moment, then said, Isn't this only 35? What about the other one? Dong Zhengyang said, There is one more that I can't see through. He should be a 2-Star War Emperor. Who? Qin Feiyang and Wolf King were bewildered. Him. Dong Zhengyang pointed to a certain place by the lake, his expression solemn. A man and a wolf looked over and saw a large round stone by the lake. A red-haired young man in white was sitting cross-legged on the stone. He was about 1.8 meters tall and had a high nose bridge. His eyes were as dark as ink, and his thin lips were faintly curved, giving him a cold and aloof feeling. The aura emitted from his body wasn't strong, but Qin Feiyang and Wolf King could feel a trace of threat. Without a doubt, this was a sleeping lion. By the time he woke up, even this land would be trembling. Suddenly, the red-haired young man seemed to have sensed something, and turned his head to look at the place where the two men and the wolf were. The two men and the wolf immediately lowered their heads, using the dense wild grass in front of them to hide their figures. The red-haired young man glanced at the forest, a trace of doubt creeping into his eyes. Then, he withdrew his gaze and looked up at the sky. At this time, it was already noon. The red-haired young man's gaze gradually became sharp, and said, If no one comes to save them before dark, kill them directly. Yes. The other 34 people looked at the red-haired young man at this moment and respectfully replied. Immediately, the red-haired young man closed his eyes. Although he didn't say much, it was enough to let people see his character clearly. He was a decisive and swift person. Dong Zhengyang's pupils shrank, and said in a deep voice, "They are indeed using Ren Wuxuang and the others as bait." Qin Feiyang raised his head and looked at the red-haired young man, and then looked at Ren Wuxuang and the others, and said, "Think about it, is there any way to get close to them? They are only 100 meters away from the red-haired young man, and there are 4 people guarding them. These 4 people are also 9-star combat emperors, it won't be easy to get close to them. However, I can send them a message." Dong Zhengyang whispered. "Yes." Qin Feiyang angrily slapped his head, why didn't he think of this? Dong Zhengyang was a combat master, as long as it was within a certain range, he could directly transmit his voice to the other party's mind. Qin Feiyang said, "Immediately send a message to Ren Wuxuang, tell them not to be nervous." Dong Zhengyang nodded. However, just as Dong Zhengyang was about to send a voice transmission, Qin Feiyang reached out his hand to stop him. He shook his head and said, "Let's forget about it. If they find out that we're here and reveal some flaws, it will ruin our plan." Wolf King said, "Then what should we do now?" Qin Feiyang said, "You guys keep watch here, I will go to Dongfang Wuhan's place to take a look. Be careful." Wolf King warned. Qin Feiyang nodded, slowly retreated down the hill, and turned back. Soon, he arrived at the top of the hill again, but he did not show his face. He hid behind a bush and watched Dongfang Wuhan from afar. About half an hour passed. A group of people climbed up the mountain and walked to Dongfang Wuhan's side. It was Murong Xiong, Feng Hua and the others. "Where's that pervert? Why don't I see him?" The twin sisters looked at the lake below and frowned slightly. Dongfang Wuhan shook his head, "Qin Feiyang hasn't found this place yet." A burly young man frowned, "Then why did you call us here?" "It's because Qin Feiyang hasn't come that I called you here." Dongfang Wuhan smiled and pointed to Ren Wuxuang and the others, saying, "Do you see them?" The twin sisters nodded. Dongfang Wuhan said, "They are the other people of my spiritual state. These people have a very good relationship with Qin Feiyang. As long as we get them, we don't have to worry about Qin Feiyang not appearing. So it's like that. Feng Wuxia, take people down and get them." The twin sisters said. Xuening, Xuerua, wait. Feng Hua hurriedly stopped them, then seriously looked at the lake and shook his head, "We can't go." Xuening asked, "Why?" "They're obviously being held captive in there. And the group of people who imprisoned them are not weak, they should be people from other states. If we go down now, I'm afraid we'll get into trouble." Feng Hua said. "What are you afraid of? No matter how strong they are, they can't be stronger than us." The twin sisters showed a look of disdain. Feng Hua said bitterly, "Two great aunts, we are indeed very strong, but you have to know that there is always someone stronger." "That makes sense." The twin sisters nodded. But before Feng Hua could breathe a sigh of relief, the girl called Xuening said, "If that's the case, then let's all go down and beat them up." Feng Hua suddenly felt like he was suffering in silence, unable to say anything. "What? With the two of us here, you still don't dare? Feng Hua, when did you become so cowardly?" The twin sisters looked at him with disdain. Feng Hua said helplessly, "This has nothing to do with cowardice." Before he finished, the girl called Xuerua said, "Then what does it have to do with?" Feng Hua was speechless for a moment, finally gritted his teeth and nodded, "Okay, I'll listen to you and go." "That's right. Let's go, follow us to snatch people." The twin sisters waved their hands and walked down in high spirits. Murong Xiong also instinctively followed, but he was stopped by Dongfang Wuhan, who shook his head and signaled him not to go. Seeing this, Feng Wuxia said unhappily, "What are you doing? Hurry up and follow. We won't go. After all, we are from the spiritual state. If Ren Wuxuang knows that we are accompanying you to snatch them instead of saving them, when we return to the spiritual state in the future, the mansion master will definitely not let us go." So, I hope that you can understand. Dongfang Wuhan cupped his hands and said with a trace of pleading between his brows. Feng Wuxia raised his eyebrows. Don't say any more, just let them stay here. Anyway, it doesn't matter if they stay or not. That's right. The twins said without even turning their heads. Their tone was full of contempt. After the group of people disappeared from sight, Murong Xiong suddenly said angrily, "How dare they say that about us, they are too much. Why are you angry? The one who can laugh in the end is the real winner." Dongfang Wuhan sneered. Murong Xiong was slightly taken aback and whispered, "What are you planning?" "Of course, it's to provoke them to war. Now that Qin Feiyang and the others are also down there, when the people of the Kong state go down, the three sides will definitely have a bloody battle. When the time comes, when both sides are injured, we will go down and annihilate them all." Dongfang Wuhan said, his eyes flashing with a terrifying light. Hearing this, Qin Feiyang, who was standing behind the bush, couldn't help but feel a chill all over his body. He guessed that Dongfang Wuhan might be planning something, but he didn't expect that Dongfang Wuhan would actually play such a big game of chess. At the same time, Murong Xiong was also shocked. After a while, he recovered and said, "Aren't you afraid that the mansion master will settle accounts with us?" "Afraid of what? As long as we do it cleanly, who will know that we killed Ren Wuxuang and the others?" Dongfang Wuhan smiled confidently. Murong Xiong shook his head and said, "It's too crazy, aren't you afraid that the plan will fail? If it fails, we will be digging our own grave. Don't worry. Qin Feiyang and the others don't know my plan. If the plan fails, we will go down and help Qin Feiyang and the others kill the people of the Kong state and that group of people. In this way, when the time comes, Qin Feiyang and Ren Wuxuang may even be grateful to us." Dongfang Wuhan chuckled. "It turns out that you have a backup plan, brilliant." Murong Xiong suddenly realized and immediately gave Dongfang Wuhan a thumbs up. "Brilliant?" Qin Feiyang, who was standing behind the bush, couldn't help but purse the corners of his mouth with a trace of ridicule. "Want to be the Oriole? Let's see if you have the ability." Chapter 584. On a hill, Dong Zhengyang and Wolf King were closely monitoring the situation of the people from Yuzhou. Whoosh! Suddenly, there was a piercing sound. They thought it was Qin Feiyang, but when they turned their heads, they found that it was Feng Wuxia and the others from the Kong prefecture. They immediately lowered their heads and hid in the grass, restraining their aura to the extreme. Feng Wuxia and the others didn't restrain their aura at all and rushed toward the lake. The people of Yuzhou also sensed their auras as soon as they arrived. Immediately, everyone rushed up and gathered around Ren Wuxuang and the others. "Are they finally here?" The red-haired young man sitting cross-legged on the stone murmured to himself and suddenly opened his eyes. Two bright beams of light burst out of his eyes. A dozen breaths later, Feng Wuxia and the others rushed past the hillside and didn't find Wolf King and Dong Zhengyang. They went straight into the grassland and stopped 50 meters away from the people from Yuzhou. The two groups of people looked at each other from a distance, and the atmosphere suddenly became heavy. Feng Wuxia glanced at the red-haired young man and the others and smiled evilly. "So you are from Yuzhou?" On the Yuzhou side, a man in white frowned. "You are from the Kong prefecture?" "Yes." Feng Wuxia nodded and pointed at Ren Wuxuang and the others. "Give them to us." Regardless of whether it was his demeanor or his tone, he was clearly overbearing. The people of Yuzhou couldn't help but be enraged. The man in white said in a deep voice, "They are from the spiritual state. What do you want them to do?" Feng Wuxia said, "It's none of your business. Just say it, are you going to give them to us or not?" The man in white looked at the red-haired young man. The red-haired young man remained silent and glanced at Feng Wuxia and the others with a frown. He thought they were from the spiritual state, but they were from the Kong prefecture. And they were all powerful. Ren Wuxuang and the others also looked at Feng Wuxia and the others in confusion. What do these people want? Feng Wuxia also looked at the red-haired young man, but he didn't show any fear. My patience is limited. I advise you to make a decision quickly. The Kong prefecture and the spiritual state have formed an alliance? The red-haired young man asked. His tone was still calm, without the slightest ripple. Alliance? The Kong prefecture's people were stunned. Next. The group of people roared with laughter as if they had heard the funniest joke in the world. Feng Wuxia said proudly, do they have the right to form an alliance with the Kong prefecture? Ren Wuxuang and the others immediately glared at Feng Wuxia. Am I wrong? I've met most of the people in the spiritual state, and none of them are good enough. Feng Wuxia said disdainfully. You have? Ren Wuxuang was shocked and asked, you've seen Qin Feiyang? Of course. Feng Wuxia nodded. Ren Wuxuang's heart sank. Where is he now? Feng Wuxia smiled. He's already dead by my hands. Kill him. Ren Wuxuang's body and mind trembled, and his face instantly turned deathly pale. Wu Yan and the others were also filled with despair. If even Qin Feiyang was killed, wouldn't the spiritual state be completely finished? At the same time, the people from the Yuzhou prefecture couldn't help but frown. On the hillside, Wolf King retracted his gaze and turned to look at Dong Zhengyang. Look at what's in the sky. Dong Zhengyang looked up and frowned. There's nothing. Wolf King said disdainfully, are you blind? Can't you see the cows flying in the sky? Dong Zhengyang was speechless. At this moment, Qin Feiyang lurked over and lay beside Wolf King. He looked at Feng Wuxia and the others by the lake and asked in confusion, why haven't they started fighting yet? Wolf King pursed his lips and said, they're bragging. Bragging? Qin Feiyang was stunned. Dong Zhengyang shook his head and smiled. Just now, the people from the Kong prefecture said to Ren Wuxuang and the others that you have died in their hands. Qin Feiyang's face twitched. No wonder Ren Wuxuang's face was filled with anger. So it was because of this. Dong Zhengyang whispered, should we send a voice transmission to Ren Wuxuang and tell him that you're safe? No need, it's more realistic this way. But why aren't they talking now? Qin Feiyang was suspicious. The people from the Kong prefecture are pretending to be profound to scare Ren Wuxuang and the others. As for the people from the Yuzhou prefecture, Wolf King glanced at the red-haired youth and the others and shook his head. I don't know either. They were talking a lot before, but when they heard that you were dead, they all fell silent. There's only one explanation for this. As soon as Wolf King finished speaking, Dong Zhengyang's voice sounded in their heads. What explanation? Wolf King looked at him suspiciously. Dong Zhengyang didn't answer. He looked at Qin Feiyang and said, I believe you've guessed it too, right? Yes. Qin Feiyang nodded. Hey, do you think I'm heir? Wolf King said angrily. Qin Feiyang rolled his eyes and said, I think the people from the Yuzhou prefecture should be coming for me too. Wolf King was stunned. You're really narcissistic. Then. Wolf King rolled his eyes at Qin Feiyang. Qin Feiyang didn't want to talk nonsense with him. He looked up at the people from the Yuzhou and Kong prefecture. A moment later, the red-haired youth from the Yuzhou prefecture moved. He looked at Feng Wuxia and asked, did you really kill Qin Feiyang? Of course. Feng Wuxia nodded. If that's the case, the red-haired youth's eyes flashed coldly. He turned his head to look at the burly man in white and said, they have no value anymore. Kill them all. Understood. The burly man in white nodded. Wu Yan and the others also turned pale and looked at Ren Wuxuang for help. Can you have some backbone? It's just death, what's there to be afraid of? Ren Wuxuang shouted. So fierce? Unfortunately, you're not from the Yuzhou prefecture. The burly man in white shook his head regretfully. His eyes suddenly surged with coldness as he shouted, "Do it!" Immediately. The aura of the people surrounding Ren Wuxuang suddenly erupted. Bastard! Seeing this, Dong Zhengyang cursed and rushed towards Ren Wuxuang and the others. But Qin Feiyang grabbed him and whispered, "Don't be impulsive, the people from the Kong prefecture won't let Ren Wuxuang and the others die." As expected. Just as the burly man in white and the others attacked, Feng Wuxia took a step forward and his aura erupted like a volcano, rolling in all directions. "Don't you dare touch them without my, Feng Wuxia's, permission." His tone was extremely domineering. It seems that the Kong prefecture wants to start a war with the Yuzhou prefecture. The burly man in white suddenly turned around and an aura that was not inferior to Feng Wuxia's erupted. "Start a war? Do you think I'm afraid of you?" Feng Wuxia snickered and didn't hide his disdain. "So arrogant? Then I'd like to see how long you can last under my attack." The burly man in white waved his hand and a golden battle chi surged out like a tide, dyeing the land within a few thousand meters with a layer of gold. Wait. But at this moment, Feng Hua, who had been silent, put his hand on Feng Wuxia's shoulder and looked at the red-haired youth. During this time, he had been observing the people from the Yuzhou prefecture. He found that although the red-haired youth didn't talk much, he was the key figure in the Yuzhou prefecture. "What's wrong? Are you afraid?" The burly man in white sneered. "Afraid? To be honest, although you're strong, it's not to the point that I, Feng Hua, am afraid. I just don't want to fight with you too early. How about this, let's make a bet." Feng Hua smiled faintly. The burly man in white said with disdain, "Do you think it's necessary?" "Yes." Feng Hua nodded and said lightly, "If we really fight now, both sides will suffer, which is not good for anyone." "You're that confident?" The burly man in white sneered. Feng Hua smiled, "If I don't even have this much confidence, would I dare to come to the Nine Nether Underworld?" The burly man in white's eyes turned cold and a murderous aura surged out of his body. But at this moment, the red-haired youth said, "Fu Shan, let him continue." The burly man in white frowned and seemed dissatisfied, but he didn't dare to disobey. He looked at Feng Hua with a gloomy expression and said, "Speak." Feng Hua smiled, "We'll each send one person and decide the winner in one battle. The people of the spiritual state will belong to whoever wins." "You're too calculative. The people of the spiritual state are now in our hands. Do you think such a bet is fair?" Fu Shan was so angry that he laughed. The others were also furious. Feng Hua smiled faintly, "If you're a confident person, you definitely won't discuss whether it's fair or not." In other words, he was saying that Fu Shan was not confident. "This person's mind is a bit scary," Qin Feiyang whispered. This person called Feng Hua was too good at scheming and would very likely become a strong opponent in the future. "I'm not confident." "Ha, just based on your words, I agree to your bet." Fu Shan laughed out loud and took a step forward. He glanced at the people of the Kong state and said coldly, "Who will fight with me?" "Of course it's me." The corner of Feng Wuxia's mouth raised, he turned to look at Feng Hua and the others and asked, "You guys don't have any objections, right? Do we dare to have any objections?" Feng Hua shook his head and smiled bitterly. With a wave of his hand, his battle chi surged and condensed into a barrier that enveloped the people around him. At the same time, the red-haired youth frowned slightly. He was very dissatisfied with Fu Shan's decision, but he did not say anything. He also condensed a barrier to protect Ren Wuxuang and the others from the Yuzhou state. Seeing this, Dong Zhengyang raised his eyebrows and looked at Qin Feiyang. If they really decide the winner in one battle, wouldn't our plan be ruined? Qin Feiyang nodded, thought for a while and said, "Don't worry, let's see the situation first. Let's begin." At this time, Feng Hua's voice sounded. Boom! Before his voice faded, Feng Wuxia and Fu Shan took a step forward at the same time and charged towards each other. Their auras soared into the sky. I don't know if you've heard of the saying, strong on the outside but weak on the inside. You belong to this kind of person. As he approached, Feng Wuxia opened his mouth and laughed, revealing a mouthful of white teeth. The previous repeated provocations had already made Fu Shan very angry. Now that he heard this, how could he not be angry? Because Feng Wuxia was mocking him. He looked strong on the outside, but in fact, he was weak on the inside and could not withstand a single blow. Arrogant bastard, go to hell. Fu Shan clenched his 5 fingers and with a roar, he threw a punch at Feng Wuxia. You're not strong enough. Feng Wuxia chuckled, but his eyes flashed with a scheming smile. He did not dodge and slapped out with his palm. In the blink of an eye, the fist and palm collided. Chapter 585. Boom! Swoosh! The surrounding mountains and earth collapsed crazily. The lake beside them also shattered instantly. The lake water turned into torrents that flooded in all directions. The small hill where Qin Feiyang and the others were on did not escape the fate of being destroyed and turned into ashes in an instant. Fortunately, Qin Feiyang reacted in time and brought Dong Zhengyang and Wolf King to hide in the castle. It was not because he was afraid, but because he was worried that his whereabouts would be exposed. Inside the castle, seeing Qin Feiyang appear, Shenlong asked, "When are we going to make our move?" Qin Feiyang glanced at Shenlong and Jiang Wei. The aura emitted by the two of them was completely different from before. It was obvious that they had broken through. "Don't worry, it will be our turn to counterattack soon." Qin Feiyang's eyes flashed coldly and he appeared outside with Dong Zhengyang. The place was shrouded in dust. The two of them concealed their auras and used the dust as a cover. They quickly retreated to a safe distance and stood on a big tree, silently watching the battlefield. "Is this all you've got? I'm a little disappointed." Suddenly, Feng Wuxia's evil laughter came from the dust. Immediately after, a gust of wind appeared on the battlefield, sweeping up all the dust and turning it into a sandstorm that surged into the distance. At that moment, everything was revealed. Feng Wuxia and Fu Shan both took a few steps back. There was a trace of blood at the corner of their mouths, but their expressions were different. Feng Wuxia was still as evil as ever. Fu Shan was like an enraged beast, his eyes bloodshot. Dong Zhengyang glanced at the two of them and said with a voice transmission, "It seems that their strength is on par." Qin Feiyang nodded. "Indeed, but Feng Wuxia has a higher chance of winning." Dong Zhengyang was stunned and asked suspiciously, "Why do you say that?" Qin Feiyang said, "Before the battle, Feng Wuxia said that he was strong on the outside but weak on the inside. It was not just a casual remark." "What do you mean?" Dong Zhengyang frowned. "If you want to attack a person, you have to attack their heart first." The reason Feng Wuxia said that was to infuriate Fu Shan. That's because once a person enters a state of rage, their judgment and battle awareness will deteriorate. And obviously, Feng Wuxia has achieved his goal. Qin Feiyang said. Dong Zhengyang carefully pondered over these words and nodded. That's right. When two people of similar strength fight, the mentality is especially important. Once the mentality is out of balance, it will inevitably end in defeat. I just don't know if Fu Shan has realized this. Qin Feiyang muttered. If he calmed down now, it was not too late. But if this continued, the final winner would be Feng Wuxia. In the blink of an eye, the enraged Fu Shan once again charged towards Feng Wuxia. With your strength, I really don't understand how you have the guts to participate in the Great War of the Nine States. Feng Wuxia continued to taunt. In the time it took for a spark to fly off a flint, the two clashed. However, Feng Wuxia only defended and did not attack. Occasionally, he would taunt him. On the other hand, Fu Shan was getting crazier and more irritable. He was almost losing his mind. The evenly matched situation gradually lost its balance. Unknowingly, Feng Wuxia began to gain the upper hand. Suddenly, when Feng Wuxia retreated, he did not notice that there was a crack behind him. He stepped on empty air and his body staggered and fell backward. Good chance. Fu Shan's eyes lit up. Without hesitation, he pounced forward. Battle chi gushed out of his palm and he slammed it towards Feng Wuxia's chest. But did Feng Wuxia really not notice the crack? No. He did it on purpose. Just as Fu Shan pounced forward, the corner of his mouth curled into a playful smile. He suddenly lifted his foot and kicked Fu Shan's lower abdomen. Ow! Immediately, Fu Shan let out a miserable howl like a pig being slaughtered. His entire body was directly kicked out and slammed into the ground not far away. Puff! Then, he spat out a mouthful of blood. His rough face was incomparably pale. At the same time, Feng Wuxia jumped up like a carp and stood firmly on the ground. He looked up at Fu Shan who was buried in the mud and laughed. Do you see that? This is the difference between you and me. How dare you plot against me? I'll tear you into pieces. Fu Shan roared. His eyes were instantly bloodshot. He then turned over and got up. He stretched out his hand in the air. Battle chi poured out from his body like a tidal wave. In the blink of an eye, above his head, a golden axe appeared out of thin air. It was as big as a millstone and emitted a dazzling light. Yo! Are you sure you can do it? Why are you using your battle art so soon? Feng Wuxia let out a strange cry. Bastard, go to hell! Fu Shan roared hysterically. The veins on his neck popped out. As he waved his hand, the giant axe above his head released a terrifying aura and slashed towards Feng Wuxia. It seems that this person is bound to lose. Qin Feiyang shook his head. Although Feng Wuxia had been using words to provoke Fu Shan still had a trace of rationality before he was plotted against. But now, Fu Shan was completely blinded by anger. However, he was puzzled. As the saying goes, the onlooker sees the game clearly. Why didn't the people from Yuzhou remind Fu Shan? Taking a step back, even if the others from Yuzhou didn't realize this, wasn't there still the red-haired youth? To be able to become a key figure in Yuzhou, this person must be extraordinary. He should have noticed Fu Shan's situation long ago. Why was he silent? Could it be that he was like Dongfang Wuhan and Murong Xiong, looking forward to the death of his people? The battle was still going on. Feng Wuxia looked at the golden axe and shook his head. You want to kill me with such a small axe? Can you stop daydreaming? As soon as he finished speaking, a flame soared into the sky and formed a sea of fire above his head, shining in all directions. At this moment, Feng Wuxia's long hair and clothes fluttered in the wind. Flames surged around his body and his face was cynical. He was like a peerless evil god that ruled the world. Fire Beacon City. As he spoke, two castles appeared in the sea of fire. The two castles seemed to be cast from magma. They were completely red and were more than 100 feet tall. They were like two huge mountains in the sky and had an astonishing aura. Idiot with developed limbs, take this. Feng Wuxia chuckled and raised his arm. He gently flicked his index finger. Boom! One of the castles suddenly sank down, as if Mount Tai was pressing down on them, crashing towards the golden giant axe. At this moment, with a deafening sound, the castle and the giant axe collapsed at the same time. It's not over yet. Continue. Let me remind you again. This time, the speed is very fast. Feng Wuxia grinned and flicked his index finger again. The second castle suddenly fell and charged toward Fushan town. His action was extremely frivolous and he didn't take Fushan seriously at all. This made Fushan go crazy. However, as Feng Wuxia said, the speed of the second castle was several times faster than the first castle. Fushan didn't have time to evolve his battle art to counterattack. However, he didn't seem to have any intention of evolving his battle art. He didn't have any intention of dodging. His eyes were surging with incomparable madness. The castle was surging with waves of fire. At first glance, it looked like a meteorite from outer space. In the blink of an eye, it had already landed on top of Fu Shan's head. The ground under Fu Shan's feet couldn't withstand such an imposing aura and began to tremble violently. On the ground, a bottomless black abyss cracked open at the speed of lightning. Open your eyes and watch carefully. I can crush your battle art with my bare hands. At this moment, Fu Shan roared and clenched his 5 fingers tightly. He threw a punch at the castle. Is this guy crazy? He's really going to fight a battle art with his bare hands? Dong Zhengyang was dumbfounded. Feng Hua and the others in Kong State were also shocked. Even Qin Feiyang was shocked by Fu Shan's crazy behavior. Boom! In the blink of an eye, Fu Shan's fist and the castle collided. There was no suspense. No matter how Fu Shan resisted, he couldn't resist the suppression of the castle. In almost an instant, the castle slammed into the ground and Fu Shan was directly blasted into the ground. At the same time, there was a painful scream. He's dead. Dong Zhengyang frowned. It seemed that his plan was really ruined. Feng Wuxia glanced at the castle and snorted disdainfully. He looked up at the red-haired young man from Yuzhou and said with a smile, "Accept your loss. Don't go back on your word." The red-haired young man glanced at him indifferently and turned his head to look at the castle in silence. Feng Wuxia shook his head and said, "Don't look. My battle art is a superior one. He can't be alive." The red-haired young man remained silent and seemed extremely calm. "Are you trying to exhaust my patience?" Feng Wuxia immediately raised his eyebrows. Boom! But as soon as he finished speaking, with an earth-shattering bang, the castle suddenly fell apart. A big man drenched in blood rushed out from the ground. Who else could it be but Fu Shan? But at this moment, his clothes were ragged and he looked like a beggar. His body was covered with wounds. The arm that shook the castle had been shattered and blood was gushing out. That's impossible. Seeing Fu Shan jump out alive, Feng Wuxia couldn't help but frown. Feng Hua and the others also frowned. They couldn't accept it. Is it a fluke that he survived? Qin Feiyang muttered. However, regardless of whether it was a fluke or not, the current Fu Shan was completely different from the previous Fu Shan. Although Fu Shan was heavily injured, there was not the slightest bit of anger on his face. He was calm and collected. Suddenly, the red-haired young man said indifferently, "Fu Shan, do you know your shortcomings now?" "Yes." Fu Shan nodded and cupped his hands. "Thank you for the reminder, senior brother Wanqiu." "Reminder?" Qin Feiyang was stunned. When did the red-haired young man remind him? Dong Zhengyang said, "You forgot that a battle master can secretly send a message." Qin Feiyang was stunned. He then patted his forehead and smiled bitterly. He always forgot that he had not broken through to the Battlemaster realm. In that case, it was not the castle that suppressed Fu Shan underground. It was Fu Shan who took the initiative to go underground. Because at that time, going underground was the only way out. Only then could he save his life. Go, let him see your true strength. The red-haired young man spoke again, but his tone was no longer calm. There was a bone-piercing sharpness to it. Fu Shan nodded and took out a regeneration pill and a healing pill. He then turned to look at Feng Wuxia and said, I've let you be proud for so long. It's time for you to suffer. TSK. Feng Wuxia was disdainful. Chapter 586. Boom. The battle between the two began again. But this time, Feng Wuxia did not provoke him. Because he knew that no matter what he said to Fu Shan, he would not be able to provoke him. Crack. Boom. The two of them fought from the east to the west, and then from the west to the north. Everywhere they passed, mountains collapsed and the earth caved in. It was as if the end of the world had arrived. Dong Zhengyang said, Fu Shan's combat strength has been fully unleashed. He's quite strong. Qin Feiyang nodded. Although Fu Shan did not die in Feng Wuxia's hands, his injuries were very serious and he had lost an arm. Although he had taken the healing elixir and regeneration elixir, it would take some time for him to recover. In other words, Fu Shan was now fighting with Feng Wuxia with serious injuries. And he was fighting with one hand. But even so, he did not show any signs of being defeated and was locked in a fierce battle with Feng Wuxia. Feng Wuxia would not be able to defeat him in a short period of time. If Fu Shan had not lost his mind, it would be hard to predict the outcome. Boom! All of a sudden, Fu Shan's aura exploded and a bright golden light rose from his back and rushed into the sky. There was an axe in the golden light. It was the size of a palm and looked as if it was made of gold. It emitted a dazzling light. That was his fighting soul. Everyone could not help but hold their breaths when they saw this scene. Once the fighting soul was activated, it meant that Fu Shan was serious. Who would be the final victor? Kill. Fu Shan waved his hand and the palm-sized axe cut through the sky and slashed at Feng Wuxia. Its sharp edge tore the earth apart. Feng Wuxia looked at the axe and the corners of his mouth lifted slightly. Chirp. The next moment, accompanied by a shrill cry, a wave of fire rushed out from his back. What? That's his fighting soul? Am I seeing things? Dong Zhengyang was dumbfounded. The people from Yuzhou were also shocked. Even Qin Feiyang and the red-haired youth's pupils constricted in shock. Feng Wuxia's fighting soul was a ferocious bird. It was dozens of feet tall and was surrounded by flames. It flapped its fiery red wings and soared into the sky. For a moment, the wind howled in this place, and sand and stones flew everywhere. At this moment, it had turned into a scorching hot place in an instant. Everyone was drenched in sweat. Chirp. After the ferocious bird soared into the sky, it turned in the air and swooped down like a bolt of lightning. Like a falcon, it used its sharp claws to grab the axe. No matter how big it is, it's just a chicken. Fu Shan shook his head with a wisp of disdain between his brows. Rise. Following closely. Fu Shan let out a low roar, and the palm-sized axe immediately swelled with the wind. In the blink of an eye, a huge axe appeared out of nowhere. It was bigger than the ferocious bird, and its edge was even more terrifying than before. Chicken. However, Feng Wuxia's expression changed when he heard Fu Shan's words. The evil aura of the past had disappeared, and there was a trace of gloominess in his eyes. He glared at Fu Shan and said coldly, "Say it's a chicken again if you have the guts. Isn't that so?" Fu Shan sneered. You're courting death. Feng Wuxia's eyes were filled with murderous intent as he said coldly, innate superpower, eyes of the fire phoenix, destroy. At that moment, the ferocious bird that swooped down blinked its eyes, and two fiery red beams of light burst out of its eyes, like two pillars of fire, and blasted towards the golden axe. Do you think only your fighting soul has an innate superpower? Innate superpower, heaven-splitting fury. Fu Shan's eyes were like torches. As his voice fell, the golden axe slashed in the air, and a golden blade of light suddenly swept out. Boom! In an instant, the blade of light and the beam of light collided, like two meteorites colliding, and a destructive aura erupted, covering the sky and earth in all directions. The land within a radius of a few miles was instantly razed to the ground. At the same time, the beam of light and the blade of light were in a stalemate in the void, and neither was able to gain the upper hand. No wonder he's the king of two continents. Even his fighting soul has an innate superpower. Qin Feiyang muttered. There were also differences in fighting souls, so not every fighting soul had an innate superpower. In other words, a fighting soul with an innate superpower would definitely be a high-level fighting soul. Dong Zhengyang transmitted his voice, who will win? Without a doubt, it's Feng Wuxia. Qin Feiyang said firmly. This was because Feng Wuxia's fighting soul was simply too shocking. After wandering for so many years, in so many places, other than Wolf King, Feng Wuxia's fighting soul was the only one that made him feel wary. It was just as he had expected. The blade of light gradually lost and was forced back by the beam of light. In the end, with a crack, it shattered into pieces. Puff! Fu Shan's body trembled, and he spat out a mouthful of blood. Trash! Feng Wuxia looked at Fu Shan and spat out these two words in disdain. At the same time, the beam of light collided with the giant axe like lightning. Clang! The giant axe also shattered with a loud bang. For Fu Shan, this was undoubtedly one disaster after another. His body trembled violently, and blood gushed out from his mouth. His eyes were filled with disbelief. He was actually defeated. They were both one-star battle ancestors, and both fighting souls had innate superpower, but why was the gap between him and Feng Wuxia so huge? He really couldn't accept it. Boom! Just as Fu Shan was distracted, the beam of light pierced through the sky, carrying with it an aura of death, and blasted towards Fu Shan's head. The red-haired youth raised his eyebrows and shouted, "Fu Shan!" His voice was like a bell, and it entered Fu Shan's mind. Fu Shan immediately came back to his senses. But at this moment, the beam of light was only 5 to 6 meters away from him, and it would arrive in the blink of an eye. This time, it was really impossible to dodge. Fu Shan gritted his teeth and raised his arm again. Battle chi surged, and he punched the beam of light with his bare hands. During this time, his arm that was shattered by the castle had already been repaired. But even so, what he did was equivalent to courting death. Boom! In a flash, the fist and the beam of light collided. Immediately. Fu Shan let out a blood-curdling scream, and his entire body flew out. Not only was his arm shattered again, but even his body was covered in bloody wounds. Blood spurted out like a fountain. Even his innate superpower can be destroyed. I have to admit, he is really strong. Dong Zhengyang's pupils constricted tightly. The people from Yunzhou, Kongzhou, and Yuzhou were already so strong. Were the people from the other major states as strong as them? Would they be stronger than them? Originally, he was quite confident in the overall strength of the spiritual state. But now, he felt terrified. The huge pressure was like a huge rock pressing down on his heart. It was very heavy. But at this time, Qin Feiyang said, "Actually, there's nothing to be surprised about. If it were you, you could do it too. Are you making fun of me? Dong Zhengyang frowned. Qin Feiyang's face trembled. When did Dong Zhengyang's imagination become so rich? Feng Wuxia's battle soul's innate superpower was indeed very strong. If there were no obstacles along the way, it would definitely be able to kill Fu Shan. But before, it first collided with Fu Shan's battle soul's innate superpower, and then with the battle soul, which would weaken most of its power. That was why Fu Shan could shatter the beam of light with one punch. In the blink of an eye. Just as Fu Shan shattered the beam of light with one punch, Feng Wuxia's eyes were filled with killing intent. Chirp! Accompanied by a sharp screech, the fierce bird hovering above his head spread its huge wings. Suddenly, the wind blew and the fire waves covered the sky as it swooped down towards Fu Shan. And its speed was extremely fast. In the blink of an eye, it landed above Fu Shan's head. The terrifying power made Fu Shan couldn't help but feel a chill all over his body. I admit defeat, he said without hesitation. Immediately, the people of the Kong state all had bright smiles on their faces. The people of the Yuzhou state all lowered their heads, feeling that Fu Shan's admission of defeat made them lose face. You shouldn't have left a mark and let Dongfang Wuhan find us. Dong Zhengyang looked at Qin Feiyang reproachfully. If everything went according to their plan, it would indeed be a good thing to kill two birds with one stone. But now, the people of the two states didn't fight to the death and only used one battle to determine the winner, which put them in an awkward position. Because if they jumped out to save people now, they would definitely face the joint attack of the two states. However, in the face of Dong Zhengyang's reproach, Qin Feiyang turned a deaf ear and his eyes flickered. Seeing this, Dong Zhengyang couldn't help but be angry, and said angrily, "If you don't save them, I will." Because of Fu Shan's admission of defeat, the people of both sides were now a little relaxed. If they wanted to save people, this was the best opportunity. Don't go. Fu Shan's death is already destined. Because the current Feng Wuxia is already angry and will not give him any chance to struggle at death's door. Qin Feiyang stopped him and said in a low voice. Dong Zhengyang was surprised. He raised his head to look at Feng Wuxia, and his eyes suddenly burst out with rays of light. At the same time, whether it was the people of the Kong state or the people of the Yuzhou state, they all changed their expressions. They were the same as Dong Zhengyang. They thought that since Fu Shan had admitted defeat, the battle would be over. But now, Feng Wuxia had no intention of stopping at all. The ferocious bird was still rushing towards Fu Shan with an aggressive aura. Feng Hua shuddered and hurriedly shouted, "Feng Wuxia, stop." If Feng Wuxia really killed Fu Shan, the conflict between the two sides would be completely intensified. At that time, it would not be good for anyone. But Feng Wuxia did not seem to hear him. The killing intent in his eyes was even stronger than before. Similarly, Fu Shan did not expect this at all and was not mentally prepared at all. And the people of the Yuzhou state wanted to save Fu Shan at this moment, but it was too late. There was no luck at all. Accompanied by a painful scream, Fu Shan died tragically under the claws of the ferocious bird. And it was torn into pieces. It was a tragic sight. Dead? Feng Hua's face was blank. The others were also dumbfounded. The place fell into a dead silence. Dong Zhengyang was the only one who was extremely excited. Now that Fu Shan was dead, there would definitely be a bloody battle between the two sides. But at the same time, he was very puzzled and sent a voice transmission to Qin Feiyang. Why is Feng Wuxia so angry that he wants to kill Fu Shan regardless of the overall situation? Doesn't he know that this will cause a lot of trouble? Qin Feiyang laughed. Of course he knows this, but who asked Fu Shan to humiliate his fighting spirit? A dignified fire phoenix was called a chicken. This Fu Shan is really daring. I see.